streamer I can think of. Okay, well, I think we're on the stream now. Hello, everyone. Welcome to I Heard They Stream Live number 5. Actually, I don't know if we are live. Okay, now we're definitely live. Okay, so if you didn't hear that, we're on I Heard They Stream Live number 5, and very excited to be here again with you, Woj. Uh, Thank you for putting up with me for this long. A month. We've made it past a month.
Yeah, I can't believe it. I mean, I can believe it. I mean, we.
I can believe it just because I think both you and I are too stubborn to ever. If the other person's showing up, we're just going to be here. I think
Yeah, I mean, we live for this
we
kind of
live.
shit. I mean, you said it before. I mean, these podcasts basically just happen over phone calls anyway. So
Yeah, you're probably just doing this to spare yourself that midday hour and a half long phone call that I would give you every couple of weeks.
no, they're just as cathartic.
Yeah. Well, we had a. I think this might be the first week that we don't have to start by eulogizing a punk rock or hardcore legend. So if I'm forgetting anyone, I'm very sorry. But I did kind of comb through my notes, and I don't think there's anyone in the past 2 weeks. But if there is someone, that we'll get them next week, and hopefully there's no one next week too. So hopefully we go on a long streak of no one dying ever again.
That would be bad if no one died ever again. I don't know. Something that'd be
Yeah,
a bad sign. Something would
that
be
that guy Peter Thiel, the guy
teal.
Thiel.
Yeah, yeah,
I saw an interview where he was talking about how they want to create a way for people to be immortal.
yeah. I saw that. There's a TV show about that called Upload. Have you ever seen that?
Oh, was it on Prime?
Yeah, it's pretty good. I like it.
I just didn't really like the lead too much
Uh,
on it.
uh,
But yeah, I like the premise of it. But to me, it's like that's terrifying. Like the idea that you could never die, and then once you're on the computer, you don't have a choice.
I
It's not
mean,
like you
no,
can turn yourself off.
I think you can. You're like, hey, you can cancel me now. I've had enough. I think
Yeah,
that's probably an option.
yeah, but then someone's like, "Nah, you don't reboot,"
Uh,
and you're
yeah,
just
true,
back.
true. Well, in this, you like pay a lot of money to do this, and it's like a luxury thing, and there's like different levels, but yeah, I guess if you're, I don't know.
And you know they're going to be bringing back like people that didn't sign up. Like
Yeah.
Tupac's going to be there, Jerry Garcia. They're like, I didn't choose this.
Oh my God, these guys suck. I'm stuck here with them and the
Just like all their favorite musicians are trapped there
yeah.
with them in this hellish nightmare scape. It's here's how these
It'd be like the more like the lawnmower man than
yes.
upload.
That's a movie that I kind of want to go back and revisit, but you can't really find it, at least up here on any of the streaming services.
Yeah, I don't know. I was obsessed with that movie when it came out. I saw it in the theater. I loved that. And then also well also do you remember like when VHSs would be like other than like real they were like the real commercial ones like Home Alone or Batman would be like $20 or $25, but lesser known ones were like $100 if you wanted to buy them for a
Oh yeah,
while.
more than that sometimes. Like when I worked at the
Yeah.
video store, some of those videos we'd get like $300 for
Yeah. Yeah.
a new release film. Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah, they had like I forget what the list price, and then they had a sell through price, and the sell through price was like yeah when you could get a Batman
Hmm.
for like 10.99 or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Like what's the guy's name? He played the agent on Entourage, Jeremy Piven.
Yeah.
When I worked at the video store, he came in one day and he's like, "Hey, I want to buy a copy of this American Pimp movie," and it just came out on VHS. And it was like, "Well, no, you can't. It's like $300. Like we have to order from a distributor and all this thing." He's like, "Fine, fine, fuck it. I'll set up a rental account and I'll just rent it." So he just rents it and just never comes back with it. And so, we're calling. He's not picking up. Like it's a hotel. The number we have for him. So eventually, the manager of the store got his like I think it's CAA his agent's phone number and called him and was like, "Yo, he ripped off our video store." And he's like, "Do you have his credit card number?" And we're like, "Yeah." They're just like, charge him whatever you think. It's like he's good for it.
That's like the librarian from the librarian from Seinfeld who like comes after him for Tropic of Cancer
Still,
from high school.
video stores, the shit you'd have to give over to the video store to rent a video, like forget what social media is getting from you.
Yeah.
I would straight up ask people for their social insurance numbers.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like routinely. That was one of the pieces of ID.
Is that what you guys call it up there? Social insurance number?
Yeah. What do you guys call it down there?
Social security number.
Social security. Yeah, we're social a SIN number. Social insurance
Freaks.
number.
Oh my God.
Well, we'll see who runs out of it first.
Yeah, yeah, right.
And then you just come up and take ours.
Yeah, we'll do it. Uh yeah, dude, I was about, yes, for some reason I was just yesterday. So like that era of Lawnmower Man, I also love this other movie, Brain Scan. Do you remember Brain Scan?
Oh yeah. I can picture the box.
It was Eddie Furlong, and it was another kind of like virtual reality game where you get sucked into the game and you could get killed in the game. And I want to say like Primus were on the soundtrack and like Chili Peppers and some other stuff like that. But for some reason I just like I searched hashtag brain scan on Instagram yesterday. It's so weird that this came up. And there's this new picture of Kathy Griffin walking on the street, and her hairline is like back to like yours, and she looks like the dude from Brain Scan, and that is like happening right now. And I just randomly happened to like search hashtag Brain Scan, and it's just all memes of Kathy Griffin next to the villain from Brain Scan, and I'm like, this is insane. And also I feel bad for Kathy Griffin. I mean, leave her
Yeah.
alone.
I wasn't laughing at Kathy Griffith at that. I'm just laughing at the fact that Brain Scan is going to have a comeback before Lawnmower Man does.
Yeah, because of this Kathy Griffin unfortunate photo. But
Also,
yeah, great. Brain Scan is dope. And also same era, the Island of Dr. Moreau
bro,
remix. Yeah.
the remake of that's like notoriously like one of the worst movies ever.
Dude, it's kind of sick too
It's
though.
amazing.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. I I went like when virtual reality first came out, like Lawnmower Man era. I remember going and doing virtual reality. And like it looked like it did kind of in the movie, but a shittier version.
Yeah.
And then like 10 years ago, they opened a virtual reality like arcade in the first floor of like one of the big movie theaters that I
Hmm.
go to sometimes, and went and did virtual reality. And in like the 20 years between Lawnmower Man coming out and me going and doing this virtual reality, very little improvement in terms of the graphics. Like it was shocking how shitty it looks still.
Really?
Yeah. Like I'm like, wow. And maybe it's made a big leap forward now, but
My wife has the Oculus, that I think that's what it's called, whatever
yeah,
that.
the Oculus. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I messed with it a couple times, and it's definitely better than Lawnmower Man. But yeah, I mean, if you think about it, like the games, they can't be as big and as intricate as like a PlayStation game because you have to read so much more information at the same time, and then there's a different component to it that would take up so much. I'm not like a computer gamer guy or whatever, but it would be super tough to make it the graphics really great, but I don't know.
Yeah. That's true. My kids have an Oculus and I did the roller coaster game on that, and the graphics
Mhm.
were a lot better. So that jump in 10 years, I guess, is finally, we're getting there. We're getting closer. The problem is once we have full virtual reality, this Peter Thiel, like all those types of people, like they're not going to be in the world anymore. Well, that's not the problem. Maybe that's a good thing. But they're just going to be
Yeah,
in this virtual reality. They're just going to be like living in Sims all the time.
dude, stuff. I don't know, man. I'm freaked out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know what? At least we get to talk about shit that has no impact on the world whatsoever.
Yeah, it's interesting just because like like I love like the main kind of music I listen to on the daily while I'm working and stuff is like 90s like drum and bass, and it's like super like supposed to be like futuristic and like cyberpunk and stuff like that. And I love like just like that kind of like 70s to 90s like nostalgic view of like the future, just kind of like that cyberpunk post-apocalyptic, shit like that. And but then it's like, man, the future is gonna be even more fucked up than that. Not that cool.
Yeah, it's like weird to look at Blade Runner as being an
Yeah.
optimistic look at the future.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, man, I kind of want to live in that world that they're living in Water World. At least they have water.
Yeah, I could see. Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be Dirt World.
It's gonna be Dirt World with soda pop. It's gonna be like Idiocracy, like
Yeah,
all over the world.
we're getting there. We're half
We're
in the States for sure. We're halfway there, man. I mean,
we're close to.
yeah,
We're
yeah.
I think I think the thing about Canada being defined by not being American means that we're going to do everything to prevent ourselves from going down that way, but we're ultimately going to be going down that way too.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, everyone's kind of going through the same thing and to a different degree, you know?
Yeah. Did you ever hear the story of the footwear for Idiocracy? Like
No, uh-uh.
they were like looking for shoes that people would wear in the future, and they had no money for wardrobe, so the wardrobe person went out and she's like trying to source all these weird shoes, and so she eventually finds these shoes that are like the most hideous thing she's ever seen, and she brings them and she's like, here, these are the shoes, and they're like, these are disgusting, but what are we going to do if they become popular at some point in the future? And she's like, there's no way people are going to be wearing these shoes, and they were Crocs.
Wow.
When you go back and watch that movie, everyone's got Crocs on.
Dude, I'm still a holdout on I'm still on the right side of Crocs. Never touched my foot yet.
I only have put them on because like occasionally I'll like have to run out and do something with a barbecue or get something on the porch and my kids have them.
Yeah.
Dude, it's crazy how comfortable they are.
Yeah, they're totally fine. They're I don't have anything against them. I just personally can't cross that threshold, you know.
Yeah. I have like a rollerblades aversion to them.
Yeah. I have other similar things like, you know, like slide type shoes, but I can't do you know, like I have like $1,000 Visvim version, but I'm
I would get like those weird I think the boots I want to try on. Have you ever tried on those Astro Boy boots?
no, no.
Like I want to try those on. They look like they might be pretty comfortable.
Yeah, I mean they're just like foam, right? It's just like rubber, you know.
They, like just like a giant croc, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
My middle child got platform Crocs the other day.
Nice.
They're like, yeah, their kids are into the Crocs. Like you can't,
I mean,
but mind you,
kids are
go,
into like wearing like well, you know what? First of all, I'll finish my statement. They're into wearing like pajama pants and like stuff like that.
yeah,
And
definitely
you know what's weird? Like when did wearing sweatpants become normal?
Drake.
Yeah, like that late, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
crazy.
I think it's a post Drake era thing, and I think it's probably Drake wearing some of those the Jordan kind of like white sweatsuit type things, right? Like, but yeah, like wearing sweatpants. Like when I would first show up to shows wearing sweatpants, people thought I was just wandering in off the streets.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember there used to be this dude. Damn, I can't remember his name.
John Sweatpants,
No,
Crucial John.
no, but I got stories about him too. There was like this like kickboxer dude in Wilkes-Barre who would be at every CC show, and he was such a sick mosher and kickboxer, and he only wore sweatpants, and he would say it was because he was allergic to denim, and was totally serious. But denim and sweatpants are both made out of cotton, right? Like,
Yeah, there's like other materials other than denim or
yeah.
sweatpants.
But damn, I can't remember his name. I'll get it for the next episode. Just give him a official shout out. But he
There were
was
a
a
few like
CC's fixture.
there's also like Paul Sweatpants,
What's
John
that?
Sweatpants.
Paul?
Never.
I don't know Paul
You
sweatpants.
know Paul Philadelphia Paul too. What's his blanking on
Oh,
his name?
Paul. But
Yeah,
he's known for wearing sweatpants.
he was back in the day Paul Sweatpants. That was the first nickname I remember.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
But mind you, that could be a regional thing. Like
Yeah,
like Fat Alex is a
it's a
Toronto only nickname
Toronto
for
thing.
Alex. Yeah.
Yeah,
and so it might be just like a regional nickname for him. But no, I thought he was like that on like one of the message boards
Yeah, maybe.
back then.
But yeah, wearing sweatpants up in up yeah, up until I guess you're right. Drake, it became like really normalized. Before that, certain, like I was definitely wearing sweatpants a little bit before Drake, but yeah, it became like super popular, normalized. You're probably right, Drake.
I went to like the Marshalls, like we lost. Wait, we lost. No, it wasn't Marshalls. Saks Fifth Avenue, maybe like one of
Hmm.
the big American expensive department stores came up to Canada, and then went out of business, and so they were having like a clear out sale. And I went in. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna buy some new sweatpants. They didn't have one pair of sweatpants below $350, and this is markdown clearance to go out there.
That's
There were
wild.
some that looked like skinned alive Muppets. They were like so furry, and but
Deep pile, it's called.
deep. I did not buy any that day. I'm
Yeah,
too
no.
deep piled up in debt to be buying $350 sweatpants and
Nah, fuck that.
$1,200 sweatpants. I think they had the most expensive pair I saw, which were marked down from that, but they were $1,200.
Holy mackerel.
They'd have to do the sports for me.
I'm jealous of your punk background. I got to get my background to be more punk here. I don't.
Well, I adjusted slightly so it looks like I'm in a different room from when I'm
Mm.
doing normal turn out a
Oh,
punk. I
right.
just
Yeah, because yeah, you're right.
turned it a
Okay.
little bit. Um,
My
but yeah,
back this background this wait. Yeah. You could see like a kind of like what's going to be a crib when
oh
when
yeah,
we have a baby. This crib was once owned by Lee Quinones of Wild Style.
whoa,
Yeah, so that is like some hip hop points for me, but there's
yeah,
no
that's a
not
nice
much.
looking crib too.
Yeah, it's expensive,
Wow.
but we're
I
trying to
well,
have a baby, and my friend said, "Hey, I have Lee's old crib. Do you want it?" I was like, "Yeah."
damn. Well, I was like just noticing what I have in here is this South Park thing, which is very embarrassing, but apparently this is worth like a shit ton of money now.
Oh, really?
Someone told me.
Hmm.
I think like all this stuff is theoretically worth a ton of money until you try to sell it.
Yeah, something's only worth what someone's willing to pay for. Can you see a the way it is poster in
I
the
can see the
corner?
frame the way it is
Okay.
poster. Is that a bunch of frame stuff down there?
Yeah, there's some good stuff. Uh, some good flyers. You want me to bust them out?
I was gonna say we should do a show and tell episode when
Yeah, I mean that'll get crazy.
we could get real. It could get real nuts. Like I was
Yeah.
thinking about that today. I'm like, oh, I should just start taking pictures of my stuff. And I'm like, oh, that would never end.
Maybe that should be like a segment. Like each
Yeah.
episode, we each have three show and tell items.
You think you could do three in right now in your room that you're in? If we get to the end of the show and we have time to do it,
Yeah, sure.
I could do three. I got
Okay.
three within grabbing distance, I think.
Yeah.
But okay, we'll get there eventually.
Hmm.
First of all, we got to talk about the hot news. You and me, well, you personally, but me as part of the band Fucked Up,
Hmm.
have both been shouted out on two separately, vastly more popular podcasts than this one that we're currently on last
Most
week.
star. Most star.
Most are, yeah. Well, luckily, there's a lot that are in our pond that are not very popular. So we're
Yeah.
still a bigger fish in our small pond, but in this pond that we're talking about, we are tiny.
Yeah.
We
Oh
are
yeah.
but guppies. You go first because I want to know, Woj, what is a male slug?
A male slug, you're looking at him. It's a fan of the Trash Tuesday podcast. Um, and at United Blood, I ran into Ian Fidance, and he goes on that podcast, and I was just like, "Yo, dude, like, good to, nice." I introduced myself, because I never really met him before, but he's from around here, and I was like, "Yeah, dude, I remember you from like shows back in." And I said the Centrifuge days. Back in the day, there used to be a message board around here called Centrifuge. He's like, "Yeah, man, yeah, I remember you too." Blah blah blah. And I was like, "Yeah, dude, I'm a slug. I'm," and he's like, "Oh yeah, how cool." I was like, "No, no, that's like what they call like a fan of Trash Tuesday. Like I love Kalila and Esther and that
What do you think you
podcast.
meant prior to that? He thought it was like a sexual thing?
Yeah, I
Like
don't
I'm a
know. I mean,
slug.
he's a freaky guy, so it could have been some sort of like preference or proclivity. But yeah, and I was just like, dude, what are they like? You know, and I asked him about he goes on Bobby Lee too, and then later I saw him like getting some Cold World merch, and I was just like, yo, man, we got to wear that on Trash Tuesday, and he promised that he would the next time he went on, so he wore it, and I got a nice shout out.
Yeah, because we had talked about this when I guess Ian did the episode a few weeks back.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, we did.
But like I didn't realize that they were gonna like shout you out by name and go into so much personal stuff about you.
Yeah.
It was just like so weird when I saw the clip. I'm like, wow, this is like a way better than the shout out that I got.
I think it's just because their podcast is in a little bit of turmoil and hot water. So I think like any they could use the support. You know, when they see support from maybe like a different world, they're smart enough to be like, "Hey, we should embrace this," and you know, so that might have something to do with it.
Yeah, it's a controversial podcast to bring up here because last time we talked about it, someone left a comment on one of the places that this thing's up saying like they like Trash Tuesday. I'm never listening to this podcast again. Well, on the other side, I guess, of the podcast political spectrum, me and my band, well, my band fucked up. They didn't mention me at all on it, but got a shout out on the Culturistas podcast, which they ended up talking a lot about hardcore on that episode too. So thank you to Josh Sharp and Bowen as well, like who I didn't realize apparently also listen to Fucked Up. I guess we've been around long enough that chances are you would have heard it somewhere at some point, you know, in Canada. I mean, not in America.
I'm not familiar with this podcast. What's this podcast?
Called
I saw
Teresa's.
the clip.
It's like a really, it's like Bowen Yang from SNL, and I'm blanking on his co-host's name,
Mm.
and it's like a show just looking at pop culture and talking about pop culture, and they've got like big guests coming in from all over the worlds of comedy, and Josh Sharp is a comedian who's actually just doing a show on Broadway next week, but came on rocking a Turnstile shirt, and they started talking about Turnstile and going to the Turnstile show, and then
Mm.
yeah, went from there. But it's just a I think it's on iHeartRadio,
Wow.
maybe, or something like that.
Damn.
I don't know. I don't know enough about podcast world to know this thing, but I will say when this shout out happened, I got more messages about it than anything ever. And from excuse me, some of the weirdest places in like family members, friends of family members, like people on the street that I hadn't seen in a long time. It was, I guess that speaks to how popular podcasts are.
Yeah, man. They're very popular.
Yeah. And they get seen by, like, I guess it's like what TV would have been at another point, right? Like you're on like, oh, I saw you on TV. You're on the news.
Yeah, sort of. And like I think like popular podcasts have like a crazy lifestyle because of clips that go
Mhm.
across every different social media platform. And then like the really big podcasts like will have like their regular YouTube, and then they'll have a YouTube that's just clips. Then they'll have a YouTube that's like compilations put together, and you know, like they really know how to mess around with that algorithm and shit, you know.
Well, yeah, I guess jump into the Kyle Gordon episode. That's one of the things I
Mhm.
found kind of most interesting because I'll see it on TikTok all the time where there's like the videos of someone speed running like a Sonic game or playing some other video game, and then there'll be like a clip of the podcast right above it. And I was like, are podcasts paying people to do this? But no, this is like a separate economy that exists of people
Mhm.
just trying to make money off these podcasts. But it also serves to promote these podcasts too,
Right.
because you see these clips all over the place, and it makes these people seem, or it makes these people even larger in their influence.
The secondary podcast market.
Yeah, yeah, the
Yeah.
secondary podcast market. That's what we got to do, Woj. We got to get into that secondary podcast market. Like, I mean, where they feature us, not making them.
Yeah, we need to like be guests on other people's shows, but they have to ask us.
They have to ask
I
us,
don't
and
know
I've been
how to
asked
do
before,
that.
and I really don't like going on other podcasts.
Well, now you got me, man. Everybody
You're
loves
gonna be the
me.
one. You're the
Yeah.
ambassador.
But real quick, Bone Yang, he he wore a New Japan shirt on SNL not too long ago. Like at the end, like when they all come out. And I want to say he wore some other there's other some other thing where he was into something cool. I forget what it was. So he has some cool interests, I think.
Well, if Bowen's listening,
Yeah.
anytime you want to come on, Josh Sharp is going to probably come on Turn It a Punk in the future. We
Dope.
talked about it afterwards. So, yeah, that wrestling. Anytime someone likes wrestling, as you know, that's always like, oh, that's an interesting
Mm-hmm.
wrinkle, especially New
Yeah.
Japan.
Yeah. There's certain yeah, I don't know. New Japan nowadays, I think yeah, how would a normie get into New Japan? I'm not sure, but I
Yeah,
guess it's
because I don't think
possible.
I think they lost their TV deal in the US because they were on like
Yeah, yeah,
Access TV, right,
yeah,
for a while, and it feels like I guess this is just a struggle being a wrestling company outside of the WWE, but like poor New Japan, every few years they'll have like this incredible roster, and then WWE and I guess the AEW as well will kind of come in and just cut off the top level of talent and just hire them all away, and then New Japan has to kind of spend the next few years kind of building it up.
yeah.
But New Japan's always able to kind of do it, so it feels like we're kind of in a New Japan rebuilding period. But I haven't watched religiously in a while, but it seems like it's getting good again.
I recently signed up for New Japan like
World.
2 or 3 months ago. Yeah, just to watch old stuff because they're very anal about getting their stuff taken down off YouTube. Like, so you can't find any old 80s and 90s New Japan or 70s matches on YouTube.
It's
Uh,
interesting. Sorry, go on.
no, no, yeah. And so I signed up for that, and I little did I know, like, it sucks. Like they barely have shit. It's like nothing compared to like the WWE.
Network.
Yeah.
We know what's interesting is like, yeah, because like you're saying, they're very meticulous about getting shit taken down and hit everyone. Like there's all these people that used to just be, and they probably still are, just like wrestling GIF accounts on Twitter,
Hmm.
and they would hit these wrestling GIF accounts to be like, take this down, and it's like it's kind of like the inverse of the logic we were talking about before
Yeah.
with these podcast things, right? Like, and that's probably why it's harder to get into New Japan now because without those clips, things serving as an advertisement.
Well, the thing I always hear, like, just from my work, like, like people who like working with companies in Japan, especially like corporations, they're still very old school, and the people at the top stay there forever, and they never let go of the old ways. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
that probably has something to do with it.
yeah, because I know when we were on Matador, I think it was I forget which record it was, but one of the earlier records, they were like it leaked, and it was back when like, oh my god, the record leaked, but they were
Yeah.
like, yes, it leaked, and I'm like, oh shit. They're like, it's a really good sign when a record leaks because it means people are excited for it and it builds up momentum for when the record actually comes out.
Hmm.
Like you want it to leak, like you want this sort of secondary fandom to exist because it just serves to drive people towards what
Yeah.
you're
It just
doing.
shows that people have to want to share it in the first place for it to if something leaks in the woods and nobody cares, does anyone know know it leaked, you know?
Something leaks in the woods. Yeah, I feel like like I feel like you look at Star Wars and they started working with these people that were kind of like doing these weird Star Wars parodies, and at first they were like adverse to it, and then they sort of embraced this sort of fan culture that exists
Hmm.
around their intellectual property, and I feel like, yeah, that's what you want to do. Like the Misfits benefited from all those people bootlegging their shirts for years because
Yeah. I mean,
it's a
same
band.
thing, even just like, people make like cold world stuff, and I think it's cool, and I have friends who used to be in bands, and they'll tell me that their old bandmates like will freak out when they find a bootleg and like attack the person on Instagram, and it like really like embarrasses them. You know what I mean? Because it's just like, dude, read the room. Like, who fucking You should be, but the what is it like the best the most sincere form of flattery is imitation.
Imitation, yeah,
Imitation
imitation.
is yeah. That's how I feel. You know, I mean, I mean, Cold World is a bootleg.
Well, to bring it back to Japan
Yes.
and Bastard, it
Hi,
says "fuck the bootlegger" in huge letters on that CD reissue.
fuck
So
the bootlegger.
I will have to ride with that. I've always wanted to have that as a shirt, a bootleg shirt, no less.
You could have bastard fuck the bootlegger on the front, and then B word ass bootleggers by Onyx on the back. And it
That'd
could
be
be a
awesome.
East meets West anti bootleg.
Damn, I think we got a new shirt design. We were the first I heard they suck live. I heard they stream live. Sorry, they're getting
So,
sued by Fat Mike. Speaking of which, huge news. I don't know why we didn't start the whole show off with this, and we're celebrating. Hopeless Records has acquired Fat Records.
I did not know that.
I got hit up about having like doing an episode about it. I'm like, are you what? Like,
Well, I
no,
mean, yeah, what would you even talk about? But that's crazy.
yeah. Hopeless Records has acquired Fat Records.
Huh.
Big money in these punk rock records.
Are they?
Yeah, like all those, like not all those Fat Records, but there was a period where most of those Fat Records were showing up on Billboard Hot 200, right? Those strung out records, those Good Riddance
Back
records.
then, but now are people streaming those like that?
Yeah, I bet you they like, it's not like Sabrina Carpenter numbers, I'm sure,
Yeah.
but I'm sure there's like a big group of 45-year-old washed up Warp Tour people that are looking for a soundtrack every
You,
weekend.
you ever see the like early teenage drummer girl on TikTok who plays
Hmm.
only Epitaph songs on drums, and she's like behind like a Lagwagon banner?
Yeah,
She's sick.
she's amazing.
Yeah.
But like anytime I see that and I know what it's like with my kids, I'm like, what did the parents have to do
Yeah.
to make this happen?
It's totally fake. I mean, she even said that she got into that kind of music from her dad, and I don't know. Yeah, it's fake.
Well, no, like because I know kids that love punk. Like I really like I know kids. I know the parents that have kids, and the kids are like, I love this stuff, but
Yeah, but dude, if you're a fucking 13-year-old girl, how are you gonna be like, you know what? All this stuff that's made specifically for Turnstile? Nah. No use for a name? Yeah, like I don't think so. I don't buy it.
well, I buy it if it was just the Chris Dodge era of No Use for a Name. I could see a kid getting totally into that these days.
I'm Lesha Con Carne.
Yeah, that's the record.
That record rocks.
That is that is that the record with like Sold Out? No, no, that's no effects. Is that the
Yeah,
record
that's no
with like
fix.
the hits, like Justified Black Guy? And
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, that record was a huge record when that came out.
That record bangs, man. I'm
Had
also Guns and Wankers.
Guns and Wankers. I'm way more than with No Use for Name. Like rest in peace to Tony Sly. But I had to do stage security for them one time,
Hmm.
and there was no barricade. Like, why was I even doing stage security? It was like just so stupid, like standing right from the pit. But this dude, a white dude with dreadlocks, just kept whipping him in my face, singing along to the song. He just kept whipping me in the face. So anytime I hear No Use for a Name, it just gives me some trauma reaction.
Whiplash.
Whiplash, exactly.
Trying to think of other fat wreck. I mean, you
Propaganda is the
yeah. I'm not big on propaganda, but I know I like it.
what?
Yeah, I don't know. I
You're gonna pick Guns and Wankers over Propaganda.
oh yeah, way I love Guns and Wankers. Like Skin Deep to me is like the ultimate mall punk song.
Whoa, that's I see. I love Guns and Wankers, and I'm not like offended because it's such an extreme choice to say Guns and Wankers over Propaganda.
Something about that song, it's just like totally encapsulates that like sound to me, you
Were you a
know.
Snuff fan at all?
Yeah, I was gonna bring them up after this, and Snuff because Guns and Wankers is a guy from Snuff, right?
I think it's a side project. I think it's like a few guys from stuff, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think you're right. But yeah, and Snuff, like there's stuff that kind of has a little bit of that in it. I like, you know what I mean? Like I really like, but there's like other like wacky stuff going on that kind of. Where are they from Sweden? Where are they
No,
from?
no, they're British.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, like I don't think they shared members, but like, so like Leatherface, Hard Skin, Snuff, um, like all those bands were like tight. And actually, the
Hmm.
only time I ever saw Snuff live, they were opening for Less Than Jake, and it was the day the drummer from Snuff, the day the drummer from Lush, who also drummed in Hardskin, killed himself,
Yeah.
and they went out and they
Chris
split. Chris, yeah, I can't remember his last name.
Ackland.
Ackland.
Yeah.
Sorry, rest in peace, Chris Ackland. And they went out and played this unbelievably heavy emotional set, and then left the tour the next day and flew home for the
Damn.
funeral. Yeah, it was at the Opera House in Toronto, and it was still like to this day one of the most like that was just like a heavy set. I think they might have announced it, or maybe my friend told me who was doing the show.
What year was that?
99, 98.
Damn, I didn't realize he killed himself that late.
Maybe it was 97. No, I think it was a little bit later than that.
Oh.
But yeah, it was just obviously a huge blow to all those people. And um but I'm fascinated by that scene. Like that scene with Mega City 4 as well. Not so much Hardskin. I guess it would have been prior to Hardskin, so it would be Thatcher on Acid and Watt
Hmm.
Tyler. But that whole stuff kind of gets completely enveloped by the Britpop thing, and no one really remembers it. But like Ned's Atomic Dustbin was kind of part of that thing a little bit. It's like
Oh,
sort of
really?
pre Britpop
Hmm.
underground UK post punk scene, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not too informed on that scene, to be honest. I only know a couple of those bands.
They were on Enemy covers. Like Mega City 4 was on the cover of the Enemy, and
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, City 4 I definitely recognize, but the others I don't really know, to be honest.
there we'll do a whole episode about this genre one day.
I mean obviously I know Leatherface and like the
Yeah.
ones that you mentioned in the beginning. I love Leatherface. But did you read the Mickey from Lush's book?
No, I gotta read it. I saw it. There's an audiobook version of it, so maybe I'll just listen to it.
It's real. I mean, I'm a Lush super fan, so I had to read it, but it's pretty good, man. It's really interesting. I mean, just it's really weird, like, like she just talks about how broke they were all the time and they never made any money off the band, and it's just fucking weird, like they were on Lollapalooza and they were kind of like a not a major band, but you just think like I don't know, like like bands that don't seem anywhere near as big as that nowadays, like from the punk scene, they're living off their band. You know what I mean? And back then, like, I don't know, it's crazy.
It's interesting. Like going back to Noise for Name, I guarantee Noise for Name made way more money off their band than Lush did. Even
Yeah,
though economy of scale, like Lush is, at least to me, seemed like a much bigger band.
I know what you mean, but I guess like if you're headlining or co-headlining an Epitaph tour, you make way more than like opening for fucking Jane's Addiction or Soundgarden or like
Yeah, where your
so
label's giving you tour support to pay for the
yeah.
band because your guarantee's low and there's not enough to cover the cost of it. And then, yeah, you're paying for it out the back end.
Yeah. But that book's really good. It's really good because she's really interesting because she has like a really messed up childhood, and her cousin is Cornelius.
Oh,
You know,
wow. Yeah.
yeah. So it talks about that a little bit, and then I mean, her and the other woman in Lush, Emma, have like such a tumultuous relationship, and like they're after their like last reunion, like they haven't spoke since. So it's interesting, man. That band's got it all as far as lore goes and tea. You know.
When we got signed by Matador, when they were kind of like first approaching us, they brought us to the beggar's office in England,
Hmm.
and they brought us down to the warehouse, and they were like, "Go nuts, just whatever you find, you can take." And we were like, "Holy shit!" And I grabbed so much cool Lush stuff
Damn.
because they have the 4AD catalog
Yeah.
too. And I just like came up with all these Lush records. Like, oh my god, this is amazing. This is so nuts. And they're like, yeah, most of the bands we sign don't really come down here and go crazy for this shit. I would be anytime we were there because like you'd stay when we were on Matador, we'd stay in like the apartment they had above the offices, and
Mm.
this record room was just in the basement. I just go down there and rate it
Where
every
was
time.
this?
Just out Clapton Junction, I guess maybe it's called Clapton. I think Clapton Station is where I would get off and walk to it, like just in London.
Yeah, that's the thing, because if they're British bands, probably come there and they're too cool, like go down and grab what you want. Yeah, can't be chuffed for that, mate. Okay, like they're too cool.
I think it's also just bands in general. Like at that point, I guess it was the early days of streaming, even,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
certainly people were like, "Ah, I couldn't can't be arse, mate." That was a terrible British accent.
Can't be arsed, mate. Yeah.
I went down there one time, and Adele was just chilling
Damn.
in the warehouse, just hanging. She got coffee for all the guys that work there, and then she was just hanging out. So Adele was not too cool.
She
Adele knew
wasn't
what was
cool.
up. No, she was 100% cool, super
Oh,
cool,
really?
but she's like, I'm thinking she's not too cool to go
Oh,
down
right.
there.
She was down there. Yeah.
Yeah, down there hanging out and
She's a
stuff.
deep head, man. She's
Yeah,
rolling in the deep.
she's rolling the deep. I met her twice. One
Whoa.
time, the first time I met her was at MTV Canada when they were doing the MTV Gladiators episode, which was kind of like their American Gladiators episode. And I was one of the gladiators that was there to kind of like, I guess, be a be foil to the VJs as they tried to make their way through the gladiators obstacle course. So I had no shirt on,
Eh.
smashed a bottle against my head, and then met Adele.
Damn, that's
Very
sick.
nice. She was probably terrified of me.
Definitely.
And a lot of blood. It was very weird. Anyway,
Yeah.
I guess we should get on to talking about these episodes.
Yeah, let's.
So I guess the first one we're going to be talking about is Howlin' Pelle Almqvist from the band The Hives, a Swedish band that has been around for a lot longer than I think even people that are like mainstream fans of them realize. Like they were a hot band in late 90s, kind of underground, quote unquote, kind of punk rock hardcore circles
Hmm.
and garage rock circles too. People loved them in the garage rock world too.
Yeah, I knew about them from Phil Leone
Mm-hmm.
because he like loved the helicopters and all that kind of stuff. And then it's funny that he brought up, forget what record he said. Oh, well, just like coming out at the same time as like the White Stripes and stuff, like when their like major label came out. There was a period of time like where I lived outside of Philly in this town called Exton and worked at Target. I was a Target team member. And yeah, I remember like I bought like the Hive CD there, the White Stripe CD there, and the Rival Schools CD there. Like at this and like I bought the Strokes in the same time period, but I bought the LP from Spaceboy Records on South Street, and it had the New York City Cops on it or whatever.
The import version.
I guess it was the import version. It was for the first version, that had it.
Well,
But
because the North American version, because we had the North American version up here, obviously in
yeah.
Canada, was that blue and yellow kind of cover motif. I forget. It's kind of like maybe explosiony kind of yellow things on a blue background.
Hmm.
And they had removed New York City cops in the wake of 9/11.
See, but I always thought that just the original regular North American version had it, and they quickly pulled it and came out with a second pressing without it. But maybe you're right.
Maybe I have not like looked into, but there might be like a rare version of it. Like I'm sure they would have set up
Yeah,
promos with it on there.
maybe. Yeah, I don't know. It maybe it was an import, but because Spaceboy definitely got imports, but yeah, that was just like a crazy time for like major label rock, you know?
Yeah, yeah, that was the year when the music industry is just like broken. That those years, and they're just like, what do we do? What do we sign? And kind of like post Nirvana, and you get a lot of weird signings. Like to think about, oh yeah, Rival Schools was on a major label. I'm like, Rival Schools, White Stripes, The Strokes, and The Hives, to me, all feel like very different time periods, but they're all at the exact same time.
Same time. I mean, it's obviously post Nirvana, but this is like way after Nirvana. This is like
Yeah, 10
post.
years.
This is more like post boy band,
Yeah, it's
right?
post boy band, but I mean, like, this is I guess, the reaction to MP3s and Napster, and like,
Yeah, yeah.
what do we sign? Like, what do kids even want these days? And the Strokes to me are still like this weird lightning in a bottle phenomena that, like, they could still sell at a stadium. Like, if they came to Toronto tomorrow, they'd sell at a stadium.
The people that I like work with at my company in New York, like they all love that first Strokes record. They're not rock heads, they're like hip hop, or like Latin music, and they'll just randomly throw that on and they know all the words. They all, like they love it. So yeah, that I don't know, that first one is a classic.
And it's the thing that's amazing to me is they're like a no hit wonder, because
Yeah.
there's like no hits on that record, and every record after that was, and I'd say this as someone who's reading the reviews, not necessarily even listening to the records that much, like,
Mhm.
is it considered a disappointment after that first one?
I think people like I think it's a kind of a Weezer situation where like super fans, some of them like really love the second or third one, I
Mm-hmm.
forget.
Mm-hmm.
But I never went past the first record really. I just got that first one when I got it.
Yeah, yeah, like, but like, even with Weezer, I guess there's like hits there, and even
Yeah.
on that second record, they had singles that played
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I mean all their
all the catalog. Yeah,
yeah, all really I mean I wonder if like their biggest hits probably aren't even on the Blue album, right?
yeah, it's probably Hash Pipe or
Yeah.
Island in the Stream. No, Island in the Sun,
Sun, yeah, like those aren't.
Beverly Hills. That
Yeah.
those songs, you're right. Those are like much bigger songs now than the Blue album. And
Yeah.
so when you go and see Weezer, like, it makes sense, because it's like, oh, they've kind of consistently been a band that's written poppy, catchy songs that everyone got behind. With the Strokes, it's like, I guess they're just the perfect encapsulation of that time and space and era
Hmm.
for people. So like, I don't know, they're just like a really interesting band in terms of like the way they function in the music industry.
Yeah, I mean that 2000, that right? That was 2000, 2001.
2001, because it's after
Yeah.
September 11th. Well, 2000, I think the EPs come out, and then maybe I don't know. It feels like it was all 2001.
Yeah. I mean 2001, like September 11th, like Jay-Z, uh the Blueprint came out, the first Fabulous album came out.
Oh, that Coupe record where they're blowing up the Twin Towers came out.
Yeah.
That's the craziest. That's just the craziest album cover to have come out that week.
Yeah, I don't know. Somebody should look into them.
Well, there's an episode of the Lone Gunman TV series, which is a spin-off of the X Files, with a lot of punk connections on that show. But in the first episode of the show, they have to foil a plot where these guys have built radio controllers that can control airplanes, and they're going to fly them into the Twin Towers.
Huh.
Yeah, and it came out like 2000,
Damn.
99 or something.
Yeah, I don't know. Where do we've talked about where we were on 9/11,
I don't
right?
know. I don't think on the show.
Yeah,
I think maybe just you and me talking.
yeah, probably just personally. Yeah.
You were in New York, right?
No, dude, I was working at Target.
Oh, that's where you're still in Philly. Or
Yeah, like it was like yeah, it was like in between when yeah, anyway, I was working at Target as a Target team member. Shouts to Target team members. I remember you used to have to wear khakis and a red shirt, and my like main red shirt was like a mouthpiece shirt.
oh, you could be any red shirt.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah. There used to be the skinhead dude that worked there with me that was in a band called Cranked Up Cranked Up Really Loud, or what is
Cranked
it?
up really high.
Cranked Up Really High. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, from the Slaughter and the Dogs song.
Yeah, yeah. He was a
Were they
really cool.
good? That's a sick name.
I've never heard him. I don't know, but I know he knew Dave Sausage. I should ask Sausage if he remembers
Yeah.
him. But he was a cool guy. But anyway, yeah, I remember like I was in the back room of Target and they had Stern on, and I'm hearing what happened, and I see like everybody working around me like acting it's not a big deal. I'm like, yo, you guys hear this? This is what the hell, And they're like, huh? Yeah, big deal, And I'm like, what the fuck? Like I was the only one who like grasped. I was like, maybe these people have never been to New York, or like they don't understand like what the fuck. And then then they had it on the TVs and shit.
I remember waking up Mike from I remember waking up Mike because we lived together from Fucked Up and being like, yo, come see this. And then the second tower got hit. And then going to work at a toy store that day and just being like, wow, this is nuts. It was my last day working at the toy store too. Like
Damn.
it was my last shift and went home that night. And then the next day got up, started a new job. And September 12th of that year, obviously not taking anything away from September 11th, the tragedy of September 11th. But if I was going to make a list of the greatest days of my life, just in terms of stuff that happened, September 12th, 2001 is on that list.
Hey,
Completely,
somebody look into this guy.
completely unrelated. But got up that morning, went and saw this film, Blue Spring, this Japanese movie that's was still to this day one of my favorite films at the Toronto Film Festival at like 10 a.m. Then walked down to this record store, walked in, and they're like, "Are you the?" And it was a record store that mainly sold like soul records. They're like, "You're the guy who keeps like, coming in here asking about new wave 45s."
Huh.
And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Okay, I have 4 unopened boxes of new wave 45s here.
Whoa.
You can have 100 records for $100, but you have to give the money now, no questions asked, and then open up and see what you can pull." And I'm like, and there's like 500 records there, and I'm like, "Fuck it, here you
Yeah.
go." And it's the greatest score of my life to this day. Like pulling out Danger House singles, like all this crazy Kill by Death shit. Like it was nuts. It's like nuts, nuts, nuts. And then started my first day at a new job that day. So, and once again, not to take away from September 11th, but
I
September
don't know,
12th.
man. Sounds pretty suspicious. FBI Director Cash Patel, look into this guy.
Yeah. He's definitely listening to podcasts. That guy is certainly a podcast listener.
He's a walking podcast.
He's a walking, yeah. There'll probably be several podcasts about him eventually too.
Oh yeah.
Uh, I'm trying to remember that first Strokes North American, the big first breakout North American Strokes tour where they're like still playing clubs.
Mm-hmm.
Was that before or after the album came out? I was trying to think
Mm.
about this the other day. I think it might have been before.
I don't know. I mean, I know they like. I want to say they played Making Time in Philly, the
Mm-hmm.
party, but I don't know.
They played the Horseshoe here. It was a free show, and it was crazy. Like the Rolling Stones played the Horseshoe, and that was nuts.
Mm.
But like nothing like the Strokes show. The Strokes was way crazier than the Rolling Stones because it was a free show. Thousands of people showed up trying to get in. I got conscripted into doing security. I'm doing backstage security, and I'm like in a little holding pen with the band just before they go on, and they are fucked, like so fucked up, drunk and stuff. And Julian pulls out a cigarette and lights it up, and he's just staring at me. And I'm like, "Hey man, how's it going?" He's like, "Pretty good, menthol." And I'm like, "Cool." He's like, "You want a cigarette?" I'm like, "No, I'm straight edge." He's like, menthol's amazing." I'm like, "Yeah, I hear that." He goes, "Menthol makes me horny." And I'm like, "Cool." He's like, "Horny, horny, horny." And then he walks over and hugs me. And then he's sucking on my neck. And I'm like, "Oh no, I'm okay, man. You gotta go play a show right now." Now I would have seen where it went, but at the time I'm just like,
Yeah.
no, thank you. But he went out and played a show and pulled it together, and it was an unbelievable set. And then the week later, he tried to make it with Courtney Love. So my rejection sent him into the arms of Courtney Love.
I'm I'm hearing a potential lawsuit for you, man.
That's what everyone keeps saying. Like,
Take his
I think
ass
when I tell,
down.
I think when I tell this story, maybe I'm just like denying how fucking weird it was. But I think it was also because I had a good 150 pounds on the guy, so I was never like felt threatened in any sort of way.
Look,
So
man, you were participating in a little bit of indie sleaze.
I was definitely
We
that's my
all
indie
did
sleaze
it.
moment.
We all did it. That's so. Hey, man, it just gives you a little bit of cred to the
What
girly pops.
I think the indie sleaze moment, because like during that moment, it all felt very sleazy.
Yeah.
Like everything about it, like the man, because there's also the return of cocaine
Yeah.
to popular culture. or maybe at least when I first noticed it coming back, not doing it, but noticing everyone else doing it. It was
We got to
a
get off
time.
this era because it's a I'm sick of revisiting this era of my life on this podcast.
Well, we don't have to relive this era because I want to go back prior to it. That first LP
Mhm.
that the Hives did is
Yeah,
fucking amazing.
I got to admit, I only know the major label LP. I don't know any of their other stuff.
I listened to that first record and I'm like, oh my god, this is like the Career Suicide Nightbird sound, 100%.
Really?
Yeah, and it makes sense because like, and I don't mean this in any sort of disrespectful way because I'm a pop punk kid too, but these were
Mhm.
like pop punk kids, like not pop punk kids, but kids that had gotten into this thing through Epitaph and pop punk type thing, playing 80s style hardcore. So it kind of had that tinge to it. And that's what I was interested in, where the Hives got their influences from, because it definitely has this like real strong 80s hardcore
Mhm.
speediness to it. But I guess it's that rancid influence that he talked about coming through, where it does
Mhm.
kind of have this, like, it doesn't sound quite like the Zero Boys. It more sounds like I don't know, like a pop punk version of, I don't know, not pop punk. That sounds really shitty to say that, but I mean like a poppier version of.
Like a streamlined version, not
Mhm.
streamlined. I don't know how to put it, but yeah, I know what you're saying. I got to check it out because it sounds like I could like it. Um, but is it like kind of like happy sounding like the major label album is, or is it a little more?
It's happy sounding, definitely, but it's just way faster.
Mm,
It's like, and like New Bomb Turks, like he was saying, was a huge influence. That record, Destroy Oh Boy, is also one of
mm,
my like favorite records of all time. So
hmm.
it made sense that would be an influence on it. I think Destroy Oh Boy doesn't really get credited as being a hardcore record, but I've always thought it was a hardcore record.
Yeah, I agree. Um, but yeah, I mean, this what was his name?
Pele, yeah.
Pele. Think he has a Pele jacket?
I bet you the guy, they made some money. They did a record with Timbaland.
Really?
Yeah, if it wasn't for the fact that the publicist cut that interview off, there's a lot of stuff that I'm not going to go into about how
What the
this
hell?
interview all went down, but it got cut. Like, people are like, "Oh, you edited it way down." I'm like, "No, that's exactly how long
Yeah.
I had." Uh, but I had a lot of other questions. But they did a record later on with Timbaland,
Like one song?
like one song. Yeah,
Okay.
I think Timbaland was looking for a group maybe
Mm.
to, because he ended up doing a record with Chris Cornell, like a whole album.
Yeah, it was terrible.
So bad.
Timberland is like the most overrated producer like of all time.
That's that record is truly. I can't imagine that's a bright spot for Chris Cornell. Rest in peace.
No.
In this
But you
regard,
could tell because you kind of told me off air about like what went down with that with the Pele interview, and you could tell in it there was like a part in the beginning where he's like, oh wait, this dude fucking is ahead, and he
yeah,
and he and he like slowly like totally loosens up and is like, okay, all right, well, yeah, all right, like you
yeah,
know what I'm saying?
I could tell when he threw out the Happy Farm thing.
Hmm.
He was expecting me to come back with like, "Oh, who's Happy Farm?" Because he's like, "If you can believe the band with that name," and then it's like, "Oh, I fucking love Happy Farm.
Right.
Let's go! I'm ready for this episode." There was a lot more stuff I wanted to talk to him about too, because like I feel like that Swedish music in general, it's super fascinating to me, and like
Yeah.
the ascension of Swedish pop internationally and globally. Like, I guess even going back to ABBA, it's interesting. But
I mean, like Roxette is interesting.
Roxette, you're right. Like, it's the only, like, you can say like, oh, Daft Punk or Phoenix, but those bands don't really have like, it feels like more like an anomaly than with these Swedish bands, which just feel like they're just part of,
A machine.
yeah, yeah, like
Yeah.
these bands are just in every genre too. Like, we'd be talking about like Swedish House Mafia, or we could be talking about Entombed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's yeah, and also just like the way certain things come to that country, and at least from an outsider's perspective, seem to kind of like shift everything. Like, I know Pele kind of pushed back on it being that band Super Dong, but
See, I
I'm
don't know that
fast.
band. What's up with them?
They're on one of those really fast comps, and it's
Yeah.
that total like epithet style Swedish, like perfect punk that they kind of like perfect. Like they take the epithet genre and just like be like, okay, that's what you're doing. Here's the perfect version of that thing.
They're like the Swedish high standard.
Yeah, exactly. Like and but they were like, but they kind of were coming around when everyone else is still doing like troll punk or kang punk.
Yeah.
So but they're doing like this like epithet sounding stuff, and then there's satanic surfers and Millencolin and no fun at all that kind
Mm.
of all around that time start doing this sound. But yeah, like it's interesting how it shifted the whole country seemingly, and I
So
think
what
it's Bad Religion.
what label were they on?
Really Fast Records.
Oh,
They only
right.
did, I think they only have that one song on a comp. They might have a couple other comps, and maybe there's something I'm forgetting about, but they weren't on like Burning Heart or Bad Taste, which are like the two
Yeah.
sort of like signpost labels for that stuff. Have you heard of the band Pride Bull?
Mm-mm.
They were a Swedish band, but the singer was like a surfer from San Diego who moved to Sweden to surf.
Mm.
They might be the, like you're saying, like that Guns and Wankers song being like the perfect definition of mall that mall punk kind of sound.
Yeah.
I feel like this is like the perfect version of that kind of band. They have
Huh.
a song called Fascist Free Society. They got a song about how much he hates his dad for never being there. Like it's just like the lyrics, and they're all in English, and they're all sung by an American guy, so they have that kind of like Southern California like vocal lyrical approach to it, but with this sort of Swedish perfect version of that sound. Like the metal leads are played perfectly. The drumming is so fucking tight.
I mean, so much of that stuff that they could like really play. But what's the term that he used for like 80s Swedish punk?
Troll punk or Kang punk?
Trawl punk?
Yeah, yeah. Tal punk, troll punk. Oh my god,
Like what does that
uh,
mean?
so that's like there's like two. So it's like more sing songy, kind of like slightly slower. Astacasta, you know that
Right.
band?
Yeah, of
They're
course.
they're considered the first troll
Okay.
punk band,
Okay.
but they also kind of cross over and they would play with the sort of like Kang punks or raw punk bands. And those bands are like anti-Semics
Right.
and all that kind of like wave of
Oh,
stuff
okay.
that
All
kind of
right. All
after
right.
it. And they look slightly different when you like look at photos of the band side by side. You can be like, yeah, I can see how this, like they almost look like they would sound kind of
Yeah.
too.
I
Like
mean, Anti-Cmex, like they look crazy.
they look fucking crazy. And there's like a bunch of that kind of wave, Mob 47
Yeah.
and all those bands that like look unbelievable, like super post-apocalyptic kind of punk rock vibes. And
Yeah.
there's kind of that with the troll punk bands, but then they also have this kind of, I don't know, like he nailed it perfect. He's like, it's kind of goofy, it's kind of funny, it's kind of silly.
Yeah.
Like they kind of have like a slight air of that to it too.
There's
He's
another. What's the other really big one? Not Astakaska. Uh,
uh Charta 77, Charta 77.
no, there's one that has like a crazy discography.
And they're more like troll punk or like more like,
Yeah, yeah. They're
um, I don't know.
I'm trying to see if it'll come out.
There might be, yeah, because there were a bunch of troll punks that I had no idea when I was kind of digging into it afterwards. I'm
Mm.
like, oh, weird. Like, and there's also bands that do that style in other countries.
Oh, really?
They were like, we're a troll style punk band, which makes sense because it's like, how many Burning Spirit style punk bands are there around the world that aren't from Japan?
So weird. Like like I've never heard these terms before.
Yeah, like I'm really into. Well, we talk about this all the time, especially with America, but like the regional variations that kind of happen with punk rock is like punk adapts to the local culture.
Yeah.
And I remember someone telling me this in Sweden one time that troll punk is closer to like Swedish folk elements kind of being in there. Like it's
Hmm.
at least rooted in that sort of melodic tradition in some way. Whereas the raw punk, gang punk stuff is just
Straight discharge.
straight
Or-
discharge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Y- Yeah, I mean yeah, it reminds me like when I lived in New York, I had this roommate. I stayed in this like kind of like it was like this old hotel that was turned into like a um dorm, but not for any specific school. You just had to go to a school to live there. And I had a couple different roommates during the year I lived there, but one of them was this Japanese kid who was like a Japanese snowboard dude, you know? And I was like, "What kind of music are you into?" And he was like, Merocore." And I'm like, what are you even saying? Merocore?" Like I was trying to like figure out what the hell he's talking about. And I'm thinking he was saying like mellowcore, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
he he didn't know he was saying that. It's just like their word, and it's like because I was like, is it like core like hardcore? Like he's like he didn't even really know what I meant, you know. And I was like showing him like like whatever like hardcore and punk CDs I had, but to them that was like high standard and epitaph and stuff. But he only knew that stuff, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? So
Yeah.
and he didn't know any punk other than epitaph. So like that was their name at that time for that style. You know what I mean? So yeah, I guess like every place has their.
Japan is like, well, I think we even talked about this on an earlier episode, but to me, that's the most in like mind blowing place for the regional variations or like the micro variations of punk rock. And
Yeah.
because going there, I just kind of thought like all these Japanese hardcore bands that we worship were going to be super popular. And then you get there and we're like, oh no, there's like millions of other little punk scenes. And like, yeah, like this metalcore scene is the way bigger version of, and that's the stuff people actually really like. But then it's weird. You go to like a label like HG Fact, and they put out Death Side Records, and then they also put out High Standard Records, and then
Mm-hmm.
so there are like places where it does kind of cross over, and or like there are people or labels, I guess, that kind of cross over to all these different worlds.
It's such a small country, and yeah, that stuff, and like media, the music media there is like really tight, you know.
Yeah,
So
it was funny
yeah.
because there's this guy Mao who's a popular wrestler, and at that point was just kind of like breaking in to DDT. And when we did the episode with DDT, he kind of was the guy to take everyone's finishers because no one wanted to take all the finishers, but he had to because he was like the trainee guy.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, we were talking, and I'm like talking about. He started talking to me about punk because he knew fucked up or he heard about fucked up or something. And I'm like, oh, are you into like this band, like this band? He's like, no, I like beat down music. And this is before I think beat down like it was like more like something you'd use to kind of be like, oh shit, that band sucks. They're just a beat down band. Now
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
genre, right? But
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
back then, it was just like it was like a way to just be like, ah, fuck that, forget that thing. And so I was blown away by it. And I'm like, is there a scene here for that? He's like, oh yes, and blew my mind by introducing me to so many bands I'd never heard of.
That reminds me. I have a from me. I listened to the last episode because sometimes I'll listen to our episodes to like see how I could like speak better or something, shit like that. Just kind of like take like mental notes.
Yeah,
But
okay.
I misspoke because I said that I was in the band that turned into Knockdown, and I said Letdown.
Yeah, that's what I was like blown
Okay,
away when you said let down.
yeah, so that was a mistake because we covered Letdown by Chain of Strength,
Oh yes.
so that was in my head. But we were called Full Contact.
Yeah, okay. I definitely know full contact. Full
Okay.
contact definitely, yeah, became knocked down. There's a full contact
Mhm.
demo tape you guys had,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So the story of why we had to change our name from Full Contact to Knockdown was there used to be this chick who went to shows in Philly who I think she was from New York, and she used to wear gold fronts and had like crazy style. Like I gotta ask like some homies if they remember her name or whatever the hell happened to her, but she was pretty cool. But I remember she like delivered a message from to us, mostly I think to Zach from Shark Attack, who was the singer of Full Contact, from Jorge. It's basically like, you know, I got a message for Smokey. If you ain't
Yeah.
Smokey, it ain't your motherfucking message. Uh, It was basically like that, you know. But it was like I got a message from Jorge. You know, y'all motherfuckers better keep cool and change your name. You know, because he had a band called Full Contact that were, and it's funny because I knew it because I remember they had a song on New York's Hardest one or two, and me and Jody Jesse from Magnus used to sing it constantly. It went, here I come around your way. Suckers don't flex because they know I don't play. I'm for real. Yeah, you know the deal. Better take cover. I'm about to kill another motherfucker who tries to flex. All he gets is a hole in his chest from the shotgun blast. You and your punk ass crew won't last. And we would just, because it's amazing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
way better lyrics than that new Ian freestyle that everyone's talking about.
oh yeah, of course. But I still remember the lyrics to this day. You know,
Yeah,
but I guess I forgot that they were called Full Contact. You know, I just knew the song. But yeah, so that's the reason that Full Contact had to change their name to Knockdown, and I'm sure Knockdown is from the unreleased Straight Ahead song, knowing Zack Attack's taste at the time.
yeah.
But
I think I
yeah,
remember hearing it was.
yeah. So I just wanted to
I was because like when you said letdown, I'm like I was doing the math in my head. I'm like those kids must have been like 5.
yeah, yeah.
Like, what are you doing with these kids in the band? I'm glad it wasn't Full Contact Magazine that sent a cease and desist to you guys from Toronto.
Oh yeah, that was like a hardcore zine, right?
Yeah,
With like a
yeah,
color cover and everything, right?
full cover, full color, glossy.
Mm-hmm.
Like if that magazine existed in this era and people still bought magazines, it's like the perfect magazine for this era because it was like kind of too pro for the time, but
Mm-hmm.
it was a cool magazine. Like they reviewed my shitty band's demos and stuff, but they
Hmm.
also had like a crazy photo shoot. And this is back when no one outside of Detroit really cared about Cold as Life.
Mm-hmm.
Like not like now where everyone loves Cold as Life, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
but they went down and they did this crazy photo shoot with like everyone in CTYC and all the dogs. They've all the dogs with them.
So that's where that those photos are from.
Yeah, those that's where those photos are from. And there's like a bunch of cool articles and cool stuff in it. And it was I don't know if all the issues were, but there's a certain point where half the it was translated to be Japanese too. So you'd be
Mm.
reading the magazine, there'd be articles in English, and then right below would be a Japanese
Yeah,
translation.
yeah. I've seen those. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a cool magazine for the time. I remember at the time though, also being like, oh, it's too slick. I'm not into it.
Yeah, yeah.
Like the Victory magazine or something.
Yeah.
Shout out
But
to Rod for
I'm
that.
trying to think of some other stuff from the Pelly interview, but yeah, I don't.
There was the oh yeah, when I asked him about what's his name from Creation
Mm-hmm.
and that
Alan McGee.
Al McGee, and I went and tried to find like backup of the fact that he did move to Hamilton at one point.
Mm-hmm.
Could not find it, but he definitely did sign Sailboats Are White from Hamilton. And seeing as that band never toured even Canada, I would have guessed you. I imagine it would have had to have been some sort of local thing that he's seen.
Hmm. Yeah, I've
But
never even heard of them.
yeah, they have an LP that's on Pop Tones. It's crazy
Mm-hmm.
when you go through that Pop Tones catalog because you're like, oh wow, they put out a lot of hit records
Mm-hmm.
around that time.
Wait, I mean, the Hives, were they on ever on Creation?
No, they're on Pop Tones, which is his post creation label that he did.
Right. Okay, that's what I meant. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. See, I didn't even realize that they were on Pop Tones.
Seeing as Oasis got back together and that we're talking about creation, have I ever told you
Mm-hmm.
about the Oasis stuff that allegedly
Mm-hmm.
Oasis was never actually on creation? That the whole thing was like a P&D deal from Sony to give them credibility?
Yeah, you said that. You buy that?
I heard it from a very reliable source that but a source that I don't know knows for sure, but a source that would have been around at that time. So allegedly, I will say allegedly. I also heard the same thing with the Smashing Pumpkins and Caroline,
Really?
and it was Sony too, right? I think it's Sony or No,
Virgin.
Virgin.
But I think Virgin. But I don't know. I mean, like Smashing Pumpkins on Caroline was I don't know. Like those records are
Are unlistenable.
yeah, yeah, they're nowhere near. I mean,
Yeah,
you think all Smashing Pumpkins is unlistenable, but
yeah, definitely. I think those are more listenable than where it went. Definitely.
oh, really? See,
Yeah,
I'm the opposite. Like I can't listen to the early ones.
yeah. Like the whole way through, I'm just not. It's not my thing. It's the vocals,
Yeah, yeah. I get it.
but yeah, like I don't know. I believe it. Like there was a lot of that shit going on in the early 2000s, where like labels were being paid or indie labels were getting bought by major labels to give cred releases to people. Like it happened with like all those kind of like hot topicy kind of hardcore labels, right? Or at least that was the rumor back then.
Yeah. I mean, I guess. I don't know. I mean, like at that point, did like being on Creation like give you that much cred? Like,
I think it probably would have. It gives you
yeah.
a story for the record. I think sets people's expectations a little bit lower, gives you a chance to kind of it's like being in the minors, right? Like
I guess, but I don't know. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't. I personally don't buy it.
okay, here's a real controversial hot take for you. Would like were Oasis cool? Like outside of Brit poppy nerd people that went to clubs in America prior to Porter wearing the Oasis shirt
Yeah,
on
yeah,
Fast Times.
yeah. Definitely.
I remember it just being like Brit poppy nerd shit. I remember people like being like, no one. I don't know. Like I felt like it wasn't cool. Like certainly not for punk and hardcore kids. And then after Porter wore the shirt, I'm not going to name names,
Yeah.
but there were a lot of hardcore kids that immediately were like, "Oh, I've liked this band all along."
No, no. I think in Wilkes-Barre, everybody liked Oasis before Porter wore the shirt for sure.
I feel like I feel like in the East Coast of the United States at that time, the divide between the mod and the punk rock hardcore scene was not non-existent. Whereas up here, it was like a lot more present. Like we were
Yeah,
like the hardcore kids were bigger dorks here
yeah, yeah.
and
No,
didn't
we
want
were
to have
cool.
anything to
We
do
were
with
a
it.
little cooler for sure.
But like Oasis isn't cool.
Then they were though.
I don't know. I've never like Acquiesce is the only song that I really like. Like every other song, I was
You're
like,
insane. You
no, it's
are insane.
no, that's like the only and like Wonderwall. Like Wonderwall, when someone played Wonderwall at a fucking party or something, you'd be like, "Oh, this fucking loser! Go back to summer camp, dude."
Yeah, Wonderwall. But dude, the first LP front to back is like
It was like the
perfect.
laziest lyrics. It's like Ian wrote them.
No, 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 no. You don't get it.
What? Yeah.
You don't get it. You've never attempted to write a song that's listenable.
I've written listenable songs. Trust me, I can write a listenable song, but I won't go for the
I mean
cheapest,
like
easiest rhyme.
this. I mean like with like
Well, like yeah, but like
write
anyone can
it.
rip off Beatles chords.
No, no they can't. No they can't.
Yeah.
What
Like,
you're
are you saying that Oasis are better than any like than Lush?
yeah, oh yeah, 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 yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, Oasis
Like
are
it's simpler, it's easier for people to understand. I'll give it that.
no, dude. I don't think you understand how hard it is to write songs like that.
No, I don't. I'm glad I don't.
Yeah, no,
I'm
that's.
going to live
I
a
mean,
very long, happy life never knowing
if
that.
you could do it, wouldn't you just do it and be
No,
rich?
no,
No.
no.
Okay. All
You're
right.
look at me. Every bad decision you can make as a person in the music business, I've fucking made.
Okay, maybe not you, but every dumb fuck who, you know what I mean,
Yes,
who
that's
wants
what I'm
to.
saying. Not cool people. Like, do you think the people in My Bloody Valentine were like, "Oh, fucking Oasis is sick"?
No,
No,
but they're old. My Bloody Valentine are way older than Oasis, and they're
like 5
freaks.
years older.
They're also freaks.
Yeah, but that's like the cool people are the freaks, like not the like douchey dude at the nightclub. Yeah, oh, this guy he likes the Sex Pistols. He did the Sex Pistols once. He's an asshole.
No,
They're
dude, they're
cool.
but they're Oasis are also different than their fans. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like they were like roadies. They were like in Spiral Carpet roadies and shit. Like they were,
Yeah, I know.
you
And I
know,
like
like
I've met Liam, and
yeah,
like he was super nice. No, he wasn't. I'm taking that back. He was a dick, but in the way you'd want him to be a dick
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and everything. So I'm coming off like I love I do like Oasis like
yeah.
more than the Smashing Pumpkins. Like I do legitimately like Oasis, but I'm also like really that band.
You're crazy, man. This you're cra- that's the closest thing we have to like the Stones or something like that,
But the
man.
Rolling
Like,
Stones kind of are also like not as good as the Kinks. Rolling Stones, you're right. They just ripped off
uh,
blues records in the same way that the Oasis is just ripping off Beatles bullshit.
dude, you're crazy, man. Your music taste is you.
Woj, we'll never agree on any music.
I think like the thing that like makes something universal makes you it like makes you not like it, or it's
Yes,
something that you just don't have the receptor for.
I don't have the receptor for it, but it also makes me angry
Yeah,
that other people don't see what I see in it.
yeah, yeah.
I feel like I feel like that's the thing. Like I'm not a musician. Like if I wasn't making punk, I would not be involved in making.
That is the main difference. Like, and I talk about this with friends of mine where I'm like, that's why I like respect No Warning so much, because they're true rockers. If there wasn't punk, they would be trying to make it playing a different kind of music. If there
Yes.
wasn't that kind of music, they would be trying to make Bollywood soundtracks or so, whatever
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
would keep you know what I mean? And that's
Yeah.
how I am. You know what I'm saying? And like that's how
I
there's certain people.
I think because I think you lack no, you get it and you can make this music, but I think deep down inside of you, you also hate it. And just like this
Nah.
whole it's like a pearl of it's a pearl of like protection built around the fact that that this stuff sucks too.
No, I like separate things. Like music is different than punk music to me. Like there's music on a whole and like what makes music good and what I you know what I mean? Like I can enjoy any kind of music. And then, punk and like scene stuff and cred and all this stuff, that's different.
But
You you know what I'm saying? Like
yeah, I'm like I don't care about the scene stuff or the cred like that, like stuff getting popular in general, even in punk and hardcore. It
mhm.
gets my back up because I don't want this to ever be popular people music, and that's like the one thing about this era that I'm kind of apprehensive about is like
Yeah.
seeing this potentially become popular people music because that killed
It's-
Kurt Cobain. Like that's like
I'll
this
tell
was
you this, it's not going to happen
yeah, I
because
don't think it's gonna happen.
I'll tell you what, I heard a couple new releases from some punk based artists coming out this month, and it sounds like they straight up never heard music before. And I don't know what the hell they think they're making. I don't know who they think it's for, but it ain't gonna happen, bro. I don't think.
Is it is it video game soundtracks? Because you're right, it does kind of have that like just like a bunch of riffs put together in the same way that like a video game soundtrack would have it.
Yeah, it's really fucking weird. I don't know. Like I think it's like what we're describing, where we're talking about like there's a difference between like fucking making a hardcore record and making music, like,
Yeah.
and if you're gonna like go for it and try to like make something, I could tell like what kids now are like, they're finding out about like the Crow soundtrack, they're finding out about the mainstream shit that we grew up on that to us is just normal, and they
Yeah.
think is they worship and want, like, and I don't know how to explain
But
it.
I agree with you. I feel that like, and that even came across in the Kyle Gordon conversation. We're talking about Limp Bizkit
Yeah,
and this moment where people are like, oh, but Limp Bizkit's cool. It's like, no, it was not cool. It was it was it was whatever it was, but there was like better versions of that thing available to you,
yeah.
and that version of that thing was just not cool.
The
And
thing,
I don't want to go back to the Brad Pitt, Patrick
yeah,
Swayze
but the
cool
thing, but the
conversation.
I was about to say the thing that like the thing about them is they weren't cool in that way or in our way. Like
Yeah.
Limp Bizkit were for like scummers,
Yes,
and like
Commerce.
they were for scummers. Like that new metal was for scummers. Like it was for morons. Like you know what I'm saying? It wasn't for like the like yeah, anyone. I don't know. I don't
Was like, yeah, I guess like the new metal that people would have, like there are, I guess, like Downset, Rage Against the Machine,
yeah.
eh, but at that point it's still kind of underground, right? Like
Hmm.
it, and it's but then once it got mainstream, it was 100%, yeah, like straight to the Monster Energy factory.
Yeah, I
Was
mean
Monster Energy drink a thing then?
I don't think so.
The
No.
craziest show I've ever seen.
Jolt. We were still rocking with
Joel,
Jolt.
Joel, that's right. Craziest hate breed show I ever saw was at South by Southwest, and it was like a Monster Energy drink sponsored secret hate breed show. The first time they had played a show,
Oh my god.
and Jamie must have talked about Monster Energy like 6 times on stage. He was wearing like all Monster Energy drink gear on stage too. The
Yeah,
show
but
was insane though, one of the most violent mosh pits I've ever seen in my life, and
yeah, of
they were
course.
fucking incredible. But
Yeah.
it was a weird Monster Energy drink evening
Yeah,
that night.
I got thoughts, but but yeah, I mean I don't I know what you mean, and like the lane is there for hardcore to and punk to like go mainstream like you're describing, but I'm seeing a lot of bricks being put up by these motherfuckers that are trying to sell out.
And I'm like, I'm not gonna believe it until I see one of my kids' friends or classmates wearing
Yeah.
like a new band
I
shirt.
never whenever I think that I can make a punk connection outside, it never works. I'm like, oh
Mm.
yeah, they have to know. Title Fight's huge. They have, and I'll bring it, and I'll look like an idiot, and they never heard of it before. You know what I mean? Like it still isn't. It's not happening.
Yeah, it feels like it's there. I wonder.
It's like
It might
every
be.
other thing. It's a micro
Yes.
world. It's like every other thing, and and the more that we go down that lane, where just more and more little micro subcultures and TikTokisms break off from one another, all that happens is that just shrinks that, and then the actual popular things just become even more harder to break through to. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
and turnstile are the only in my opinion are the only ones that are going to do it because everything else because turnstile are the same thing. They're music people like no warning. You know what I'm saying? Everyone else that I hear trying to do it, I'm like, you don't like music. I could tell you. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, because that's the thing, right? Like if you the motivate, like you're saying, punk and hardcore, the motivation to make punk and hardcore prior to the commercial era, and
yeah,
even after commercial eras, was like you did it because you loved it, and maybe you wanted to get popular amongst your friends, but like the idea that this was going to be anything beyond this thing was ridiculous.
mm-hmm.
And now that we're at a point where there are real stakes and there are like opportunities for people, people are now going to have to stop making punk music and are going to have to start making more popular music or more music that can kind of cross over. And in
Yeah,
other eras, that would get you kicked out of the punk scene. But now, obviously, it's people are all for it.
unless like but every once in a while there is that crossover of people that are legit and do love this thing of ours and they are fucking real musicians and understand music and it's undeniable like a fucking you know what I mean that
Like
happens every
Turnstile.
so
Yeah,
often
I agree with you.
yeah like
Turnstile.
a fucking Green Day a Jawbreaker a Turnstile of blah blah blah
But
whatever.
but Jawbreaker died on the rocks, right? Green Day succeeded. No Warning died on the rocks. Turnstile seemingly seems to be succeeding, and not Green Day levels yet, but like
Turns yeah I mean Jawbreaker died on the rocks but
they're legendary. They're one of the greatest bands of all time. But they were Dear You kind of killed, well, did kill them as a band, but I think it also like killed the fan base too for a while.
it was it. Yeah, I know. Yeah, and I don't understand. I don't get that because
Same here. I love that record.
to me that's by far their best record.
I'm not going to go that far, but I
Yeah.
do agree with you. It's a great record.
Yeah, for me, I never listen to their other records. That's like Dear You is fucking so sick. But yeah, and I think No Warning were just like wrong time.
I think it was the wrong time. And at that point, to do what you're saying, to do that jump and be like, okay, we're music people, you kind of had to be like, I'm no longer a punk hardcore person. Like, turn your back on it,
Hmm.
style yourselves differently, start playing a new genre of
Yeah,
music. People are like, oh, what is if Inside Out had put out that Rage Against the Machine record? Like, would it have become Rage Against the Machine? It's like, hell fucking no. Like, Zach had to put aside the punk stuff and
hmm,
be like, okay, I'm going to try and write just mainstream music now with these guys. I'm sure that wasn't the actual
yeah.
conversation, but that's kind of what had to happen. And same with No Warning, right? Like, they had to be like, oh, we fucking hate punk and hardcore. We're like into metal now or into rock and go with
It's
that kind
so
of.
weird. Like I was just yesterday. I was listening to an interview with the dude from Jejune, that
Mhm.
like '90s emo band that I really like them,
Was he
and
one of the guys in Atari? Or was that Jazz June?
that's Jazz June.
Jazz June, sorry. Yeah,
Yeah,
June. I
yeah.
know June. Yeah.
Jejune were like he's from San Diego, and I think the rest of the band or the other guys are from Boston, and the girl in it is from Hawaii originally, I think. But anyway, he was, he's just like telling like the timeline of the band and stuff, and it's just that kind of thing where we talked about before, where there was that part that like everyone thought like, oh, emo is going to be the next big thing and all these bands are going to get their break or whatever, and they each got their break and they all fumbled it because they tried to not be emo. As soon as they got their
Mm-hmm.
break, they were like, "Oh, the thing that got us here, I'm gonna pretend I'm not that." And like this dude was like, "Yeah, at the time I was just like really into '70s British glam rock," and it's like so many of those guys got obsessed with that, like trying to like, I'm more like Johnny Thunders. I'm not Get Up Kids. It's like, dude, you're an idiot. You know what I mean? Like you like took your golden ticket and wiped your ass with it. You know, you know what I mean?
Well, the only band that I think really broke out, like really, was Jimmy Eat World.
Jimmy Eat World, and he talks about that because they were, they had a split, they toured together and stuff, and he said that it was actually supposed to be shit. What's the other emo band?
Promise Ring.
No, no, no. A little more deeper than Promise Ring. Chrissy Front Drive.
Oh yeah.
It was supposed to be Chrissy Front Drive, and they got a call from a scout or whatever, an A&R, and they like didn't thought it was a prank or just like didn't take it seriously. And in the conversation, we're like, "Yeah, you guys should check out Jimmy Eat World. Like they're better than us." And that's how Jimmy Eat World got discovered and got on a major,
Wow.
which is crazy.
That is crazy because they were
Yeah,
on like No Idea before, I think, the first record.
Jimmy Eat World.
Yeah, because they opened for the Promise Ring in Toronto. Promise Ring Grade Jimmy World was, and I think that's when they just had the EP before that first LP came out. I thought it was on No
Yeah.
Idea.
Uh,
They're from Arizona, which doesn't really make 100% sense, but
I'm not seeing anything on No Idea.
weird. What was their the first CP on then?
Man, they got signed pretty early on, huh?
They did right away,
Yeah.
but they did have like an indie EP at the
Yeah,
time.
yeah, for sure.
Um, but they were the band, right? Like that just
Yeah.
that stole that kind of well, I don't stole that scene, but like they were the band that kind of became
I think they're the ones who had the chops to like make that kind of music. I don't think any of those other bands had the chops
the punk rock baggage is
personally.
a big thing too, right? Like if you get to that point, you're like, oh, can we do this? Like Are we really going to sign this major label? Are we really going to do
I don't think
this
with
thing?
emo that was or what we're calling emo
I,
like this. I don't think that was a thing with any of these bands, right? Like,
I think it would have been. Oh, maybe I'm wrong about this No Idea thing. Oh, Fuel by Ramen. They had a record on Fuel by Ramen, but that would have been afterwards. Anyway, I feel like I don't know. Like I would imagine with the guys in Jazz June, maybe even some of the guys in the Promise Ring that kind of came out of punk and hardcore. Right, this is all like people that would have been disciples of Fugazi.
I don't know. I think like when you're playing that super melodic strand of emo, and like I don't think you're. I don't know. For some reason, I think that's justifiable because it's like it's not the music's not political. You know what I mean? It's a different kind of thing.
But there's also the thought that like, oh, you're gonna just fucking like, what are you gonna do? You're just gonna break up. It's not. You guys are gonna get popular. Like there was like a real self defeatist attitude too.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, like I said, they all tried it. You know what I mean? Get Up
Yeah,
Kids had a deal. Promise Ring had a deal. Saves the Day had a deal. Like they all tried it.
Saves the Day. I think uh found success outside of that world.
I don't think so. I mean, when they play now, they're playing Can't Slow Down front to back tour.
They had. There's been some issues with that
There's
band
been
as well.
issues, but like none of their records broke. Like,
That one on Vagrant, right? Like it had a like MTV Buzzbin Hot Topic era
yeah, but that was the one
thing.
that was like the one, right? That Stay What You Are or whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
That came out when I worked at Target. Yeah. But I think that was the last one where I had like a little, yeah, I don't know, whatever.
yeah. It's
Whatever the case is, it didn't
the
work
the
out.
first time Saves the Day played Toronto. They played here with Fast Break,
Hmm.
and Matt DeLong from No Warning just hard heckled him the whole set, just being like, "Where's the dude from Mouthpiece? Where's the dude from Mouthpiece?" The whole set.
Oh God.
They brought him up on stage at one point,
Really?
and he just got the mic and was like, "Where's the dude from Mouthpiece?"
That's pretty good.
A lot of Mouthpiece talk today.
Yeah, the grease.
The grease, indeed. Should we before we wrap up do show and tell?
Yeah, we didn't talk about the other episode
Kyle
at all.
Gordon. We didn't
Kyle
we didn't
Gordon.
talk about it directly. Oh, you've got points about it.
Yeah, I don't really have any points about it, but I would say like yeah, like when you told me he was coming on the show, uh like just that week for some reason like at Cold World practice, we were like talking about him and just about how like the new metal song and like one of the other songs, like me and Haroon were talking about like yo, like he like really gets what makes that music. Like he like really is, you know what I mean? And it's funny because he said that in the interview. He was like, I really study the songwriting and stuff of each one of these genres to, especially like the emo one, like the like alternative press like era emo one, like it's
Evo Axolotl or the other. He's got that other one where it's kind of like an AFI sounding song almost.
yeah, that one.
Yeah.
It's yeah, it's dude, it's
He
amazing.
It was funny because he hit me up and was like, "Hey, I'm a big fan of your podcast and I like your band." And I'm like, "Oh, cool. Like, are you into punk?" And he's like, "No, I was never really into punk." And I'm like, "Oh, well, I do this show." He's like, "Well, I do love the Ramones." Like, he's like, "That's my favorite band." And he's like, "My favorite episodes of your podcast," and names like the most random episodes which have Ramones content
Yeah,
in it.
Ramones. Yeah.
And then after he was on the show, he messaged me. He's like, "Hey, I'm listening to the Porcel episode. And turns out he's from the same town that I'm from." And he was
Eh,
like, just deep diving on all these other genres. Like he's definitely like you can tell, like you're saying, when you hear these songs, he's someone that like loves music and studies it and
mhm.
like not like me where I get caught up in my personal feelings on this shit. Like with stuff that I hate, I just dismiss it right away. But even stuff that he doesn't like, he's like, how
What
does this
makes
work?
yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, even like the UK garage track, it's
Yes.
like insane, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Like when he nails like things like that, like there's these little nuances where I'm like, how could you be nuanced enough in all these different genres at once? Like, because like they're the things that he's hitting on.
Mm-hmm.
are things that only people that know this stuff would pick up on.
100%. I mean, he's like, yeah, he's like a new like Weird Al, but like
Yeah.
for the TikTok generation, for like the stuff that is relevant to to kids now.
Well, speaking of which, like my kids hate this podcast. Like not
Yeah,
this one, but Turn It a Punk. They really don't like
yeah,
it because
yeah.
I always talk about it, and I'm always trying to like relate it to them in some way, like in typical lame adult fashion. Like, oh well, you know the show you like. Well, the guy that was on this show used to be in a band with this guy, you
No,
know, and
no,
they're like,
no.
yeah. So I did the Kyle Gordon episode. I'm like, I had this guy on the podcast that I think you like, to Camden, my youngest kid, and they're like, no one cares about your dumb podcast. I'm like, oh. And then I showed them a picture of Kyle, and they were like, oh my God, really? They're coming on your podcast? And like my neighbor down the street too, like we were talking about earlier, like with the podcast fame or these really popular podcasts, if you're like someone like Kyle Gordon who's goes viral constantly, like
Hmm.
the the level of recognition you have these days is through the roof. Like Kyle Mooney was just on the podcast a couple weeks before, and incredible comedian, like one of a comedic genius, someone who's got 10 years on Saturday Night Live, 8 years on Saturday Night Live. But like, I don't know if he's as recognizable as Kyle Gordon, like because Kyle Gordon's got 3.9 million followers on TikTok.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that they would even be comparable is crazy. You know what I mean? Like as
Yeah,
far as facial recognition, and I agree. Like everybody knows Kyle Gordon somehow.
yeah, yeah. It's
Uh,
just I don't know. Go on, sorry.
he was dope. He was such a nice dude on the uh on the podcast. But it was interesting, like, because it just made me think about like just like the age gap where he was like, yeah, like like I would had like my iPod, I would put like genres and like put what I thought represented that genre. He's like the Germs, and you were like, yeah, like that. Well,
Yeah, the
someone,
CD.
yeah, like someone our age, we think of that CD, the black CD with the one that everybody had, and he's like.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I don't know. I had like Lexicon double 7-inch MP3s, and some were, it's so weird, and it's just like, I don't know. It's like the way that people find out about music now. It's like depending on the genre, it's like wrong, right? Because even just like um in like the locking out Slack chat, there's like an EDM channel, and we talk about like dance music and stuff, and like a couple of the guys on there will be like finding out about like 90s drum and bass artists, and they'll like put in these like random guys from the 90s, and they're like, oh, what's up with him, blah blah blah, and they'll be like, yeah, that he came up on Spotify. And I'm like, yo, like this music is not meant to be. I don't say this because I don't care, but like they're finding out about like random artists in such a weird sequence. You know what I mean? It's like finding out who like Struggle is before you even know about the Ramones. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
then meanwhile, with like a music like drum and bass, like that music isn't even supposed to be listened to song by song. You're supposed to listen to DJ sets. You know what I mean? Like the songs are like 7 minutes long. You're not supposed to just listen to them in a playlist. It's
Well,
psychotic.
when also like and hardcore is like this too. Like so much of like dance music is for like a live communal setting,
Yeah, yeah.
and like punk and hardcore, like so you'd see a song, everyone in the show would be singing along to it. You'd be like, oh my God, that memory. I'm going to take that memory by listening to this song.
Hmm.
Or you'd be at a party and you hear the song playing as you're having like an incredible time dancing. And now it's like, yeah, almost like removed from the context. Like the context can be completely stripped away from it. And it's just like
Yeah. Because if you
as
like,
itself.
when you look at like not like 90s or early 2000s, like any kind of dance music, like you look at the track on YouTube, all of the comments are, oh my God, I can't, oh, remember when Carl Cox dropped this at Creamfields in 97, or, oh, Oakenfield dropped this on BBC One, or, whatever. Like, like that's how you're supposed to remember it. Not like, oh, I can't, I'll never forget the day Spotify recommended this because I listened to the Chemical Brothers. It's like, what the fuck? Like,
It finally came up in my algorithm.
it
And
sucks, man.
yeah.
Oh, speaking. Okay, all right. You want a clippable moment that could take us viral. So
Let's do it.
Yeah,
Here comes the hottest take ever.
it's not a hot take.
Hotter than Oasis sucks.
Yeah, that I mean that take is smoking hot, and sucky. But remember, I think on the last episode I said every once in a while I'll check in on hardcore Reddit when I get bored.
Yeah.
So like the other day I checked in on it, and it was a screen grab of Kristen Ritter from Breaking Bad.
Breaking Bad.
Yeah, and it was like
Is that
what?
John Ritter's daughter?
No,
Okay.
it was like what hardcore band is she into, or what subgenre or whatever is she into? And I'm here to answer that question because I went to high school with Kristen Ritter.
Whoa.
Yeah.
You went to like school with the guy that gave what Justin Bieber the tattoo
I didn't
too?
go to school with him. He was in Magnus. He
Oh,
gave
he was in
he
Magnus.
he
Okay.
gave Britney Spears
Britney
a
Spears a
tattoo.
tattoo. That's
And
it.
and that'll be another clippable moment in a future
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah.
But
Wait, you
but
went
yeah,
to school with her?
yeah, so like when I was in my high school, I was in a super lived in a super small town. So like our high school was 7th to 12th grade. So it was like middle school and high school together. There was no middle school. So I was in 8th grade probably, and she came in, she was a grade below me, and she moved to town. And she was like, this was like Baywatch era, you know what I mean? And she was like a super skinny chick with like black hair and like dressed kind of weird and shit. So she was like first like a little bit of a, like not outcast, but I don't know, like people didn't know what to think of her or whatever. But let's just say I knew what to think of her. And eventually she became one of the cool girls. And she was like friends with the kids. My group of friends in the year below me were like skaters, and we got into punk and stuff together, and she was friends with them. And one night we were at the mall, and we ran into her, and we were just like talking. She's like, "Oh, I gotta go. Like my mom signed me up for this lame ass model search contest at the mall." We're like, "All right, see you." So then like we saw her the next day at the school, and she's like, "Yeah, like I won that thing, and I have to like go to New York to get like headshots done or whatever next month. You guys want to go?" And like I already knew how to go to New York on the bus, like because I was going to like go to buy records and sneakers and shit. So I went with them, and she probably doesn't remember any of this or remember who I am, by the way. Maybe. But yeah, like I went to New York with them, and then yeah, she like did like modeling and stuff throughout high school here and there. But she dated this complete psychopath, Damian Gubik, who was like a straight up demon. And I remember we used to like jam together. He played guitar, and we were gonna start a band. He's like, "Dude, I got the perfect name for the band." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Social Distortion." And I was like, "Dude, that's a band." Like, I brought in like a Prison Bound tape to show him like the next day. Like, it's already a band. He's like, "Fuck them, man." He was like, anyway, he was just like a total psycho, and I'm pretty sure he's dead now. But anyway, so she dated him, like the scariest guy in high school. And like my one friend John and her had like this like unspoken like love throughout high school. And she was just like total normie, like for the cool girls in our high school, like it was like really cool to like just like be like the music, they just like listen to like Grateful Dead, and we're like not into anything. You know what I mean? They were just like
Yeah.
regular, like, you know what I mean? Like they weren't even like hard partiers or anything. There wasn't really any hard partying going on in our school. Like it was pretty like, you know what I mean? Like not lame. Like it was like, like
Just normal.
yeah, it was just normal. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like yeah, like kind of like I lost track of her after I graduated high school. And then she was on the brother from Everybody Loves Raymond had a spin-off show, and she was his daughter in that. And then I remember I saw her in a Dr. Pepper commercial, and then she was in fucking Breaking Bad, and then like she was in some like Marvel Netflix show or whatever.
Yeah, she's Jessica Jones
Yeah, yeah.
in Jessica Jones, and I think she's bringing back that role.
Hmm.
Wait, so did she like any punk and hardcore bands?
No.
Okay, okay. They're gonna be like, wait. So what was the band like that you're gonna do with her psychotic boyfriend?
I don't know. It was like 1990 like 3 or something. We were like little kids, you know what I mean? Like we were playing like When I Come Around like in his at his like dad's house.
Where did he come up with the name social distortion without
He
knowing that
saw it in like a magazine or something. He was just like a psycho. Like he was the kind of kid that would like torture cats and shit like that. You know what I
yeah.
mean? I remember like he was like play hockey, and like my one friend like went to one of his hockey games, and he said like he was him and this other guy were like the face off in the beginning of the game, and as soon as the puck dropped, the dude just threw down his gloves and just started destroying the dude in the middle of the game, and got immediately ejected. But
I remember, I think it was actually the show that I was talking about earlier, weirdly enough, with Less Than Jake and Snuff.
mhm,
Jersey opened, and
mm,
the bass player from Jersey used to be like a hockey dude, like a tough hockey player, a goalie. And we went out to the Jersey van, and they had like a VCR set up in their van.
mhm.
He's like, "Watch this," and he put in a video of him as a goalie skating across the ice to beat up the other goalie in the middle of a hockey
Sick.
game. It was so awesome.
I remember Jersey. They played Wilkes-Barre a couple times.
Yeah, they were a band from here that got a major label deal for a hot minute,
Oh, really?
and
I didn't know that.
yeah, they were signed to Fueled by Ramen. They were like one of the first bands on Fueled by Ramen.
Mm,
Epitaph was kind of sniffing around them for a while. Um, Greg, the lead singer, main guy in that, was also in Jersey, so he was kind of like had his focus divided. And then blanking on her name, but the singer from that band married Bo from a Veil,
Ah, okay.
and was, I think, Bo's like first real serious relationship after he broke up with Lita.
Wow.
Yeah,
Hmm.
crazy. It all comes back to pro wrestling
Yeah, man.
and Canadian ska punk. Uh, I have the Jersey demo. Speaking of, maybe this is how we kick off show and tell, right? We show the most impressive thing from our collection, which for me is definitely, where is the Jersey demo?
Does it have to be the most impressive thing
No,
from your
not at
current
all.
collection?
Like
Because
if I'm
if we're
showing the Jersey demo, here it
yeah,
is. This demo is actually fucking sick. Like, I'm not the biggest ska punk fan, but this demo is unreal.
they were ska punk. I remember them just being kind of like pop punk.
I think they ditched the ska punk sound and kind of went more for like hot water music.
Yeah, that's what I remember them being like.
Yeah, but this demo is like them writing really poppy ska punk songs.
Huh.
That guy Greg from Jersey and Grade could write a song. Like he's like one of those people that you're talking about. Like he could write a song in any genre
Hmm.
type thing. He just happened to wind up in a inventing screamo.
Is does that Jersey demo count in your three things?
I'll leave this as one of my three. Yeah, this is
Okay.
one of the three. I bought this at the Jersey. I'm trying to remember which Jersey show I bought this, but this was like the Frampton Comes Alive for Southern Ontario uh punk kids at one point. Like everyone had this fucking demo.
I remember like that. I like correlate them with like this band Bigwig. Do you remember Bigwig?
Yes, from New Jersey.
Yeah. I feel like they toured with them and like played Wilkes-Barre with them.
When Bigwig played Snow Jam up here one time, like the No Warning guys and me were doing like security or something. We were all there, and the drummer was in some old Anthrax era hardcore band. It was just telling us like stories about seeing Judge and Underdog and
Damn.
all this Youth of Today and like just all these Anthrax kind of era type stories, Gorilla Biscuits and stuff. Now I'd have a lot more bands to ask him about, but back then I was pretty limited in what I knew.
Yeah, but that's a good start.
Yeah,
Okay, Jersey demo. All right. I mean, I just gotta like grab three quick things.
yeah. Three quick things.
All right. Let me see here. 1 second.
This is going to be fun, everyone, because uh, we haven't put any thought to this. So you're really going to be seeing us just pick three literal random things from our room. If you're listening to this right now on the audio version, it's a good time to point out that there is a YouTube version of this where you can watch it over at the Turn Up Punk YouTube channel. Just letting everyone know that if they're listening to the podcast version of this right now, it might be pretty boring. and they should check out the video
Oh yeah,
version.
definitely. I mean, hey, I just grabbed three things that was real quick on the top of piles that I didn't have to dig for. So I'll match your Jersey demo with a Crackdown demo.
Oh, damn. Is that a real original Crackdown demo?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. Look, now they see the tape.
I don't have the insert though.
Fuck,
That's the
that's awesome.
tape, and it has well, it has other demos on the B side, the New York Hoods and Youth Under Control, which are handwritten on
Oh,
the
wow.
inside of the. I got this last year from Greg Mongoloid, I think.
Who who was Youth Under Control?
I don't know.
Is it in Cooch and CC's unauthorized guide to New York hardcore demos?
Good
Do you know that zine?
question. Yeah, of
Have you seen?
course.
That's the best zine ever. That's like one of
I'm
my
gonna have
favorite
to
zines.
look up Youth Under Control. Maybe I have an unripped demo.
Cooch is definitely going to need a copy.
Yeah, I mean he probably fucking has it,
I
knows
have
what
that
it
one
is.
now. Yeah,
Yeah.
man, you're showing good stuff. I feel like now I gotta raise.
No, no, that's the only good thing. Everything, the other two things aren't crazy, and that was just at the top of my demo pile. So that was why I grabbed it. I didn't want to keep the listeners waiting.
Okay, I'm gonna grab something that uh is definitely sonically not cool, but looks cool. One sec.
Okay.
This is the Acrid demo. Speaking of
Yes.
grade, and they all came in cigarette packages.
Hmm.
I don't know where the cigarettes were acquired or what happened to the cigarettes, but they were all like I don't know how many they would have made of these. Not too many, I imagine, but they would come in this cigarette pack. I got the players pack, which is what my estranged grandfather would smoke. So brings back a lot of memories. Still has a little bit of an odor in there, and there is an insert for this.
That's a weird
Acrid
cigarette box.
players.
Yeah, it's like weird, shaped weird.
Now this is what Canadian packs were like
Oh, really?
back
Huh.
then. This was like a king size. I think they were called this thing.
Huh.
But yeah, God, driving around my grandfather's car, he's just power smoking players, and I'm putting the crisscross tape, and we're just listening to crisscross. And he's
Yeah,
smoking cigarettes.
my grandfather was on those Pall Malls.
Oh, I don't know if we have Pall Malls up here. Like I think we might have different tobacco because
Oh,
I know my
maybe.
dad would always buy like smuggled in Camel cigarettes from America because he liked the Camels.
We had extra
Uh,
chemicals in ours, probably.
yeah, I think they were. I remember Camel cigarettes being really strong when I stole one of his. Being
Mm.
like, oh my god,
Yeah, I
this is
think Pall Malls
disgusting.
like might be like unfiltered.
Yeah, I think they were unfiltered. I think that was the
Yeah.
gimmick on them. Uh, these are this is the Acrid demo. Acrid's a weird band though because they were like super popular. Like people fucking love them outside of Toronto, but I
Yeah.
don't know a single person that liked them here.
Uh, they are they the band that had like the saw blade
Yeah, the split with
12
Left for Dead.
inch?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a split with Left for Dead, and it's amazing because they're from Oakville, and on the Left for Dead side it says like Oakville sucks shit because they kind of didn't like each other apparently.
Yeah. Yeah, Acrid. I never had that record, but I remember it like being pretty good.
It definitely is a record that I like more now in retrospect, but at the time I remember being like, oh, I like the Left for Dead side only. Acrid. Because Acrid was like, I don't know, they were like younger, cooler. Like the Oakville scene, uh, probably now I look back on it, it was like a lot of it was probably like insecurity and jealousy, but it always like they were like the cooler, wealthier kids. And then there's Hamilton, and then there's Toronto on either side. And I always felt much more like a Hamilton fan. Toronto didn't have much of a hardcore scene back then. It was like actually like a really weak time in Toronto hardcore.
Where were Grade from?
Burlington, which is on the other side of Oakville, just before Hamilton.
Okay.
But Burlington got a
Uh
pass.
what about um Believe?
I believe was also from Hamilton. you're right, because the Great Believe split. But
Yeah.
Believe wasn't really around for too long. I don't think after that. Like after that split came out.
Yeah, I remember I had that CD and there was this one song, this grade song that was so insane. The lyrics like were about like how tough it is knowing the like injustices of humanity and like nobody else knows and like he has to carry that weight and like normal people like don't get it like he does, or something. I remember that's how I took the lyrics. I'm like, what the fuck?
I've asked Kyle from Grade to come on this podcast 30 times, 25 times, and he's never coming on. He told me.
Really?
Yeah, I don't. He does not look back fondly on Grade at all.
I get that. I liked that song by the way.
Oh,
But
same.
yeah.
Yeah, like there were definitely some over the top lyrics to Grade. Like the whole vibe was.
Yeah, but that was that time, man. Like
Yeah,
they get a I wasn't a big grade head. Like that was I think that was the only grade thing I had. I didn't have any of their records. I think I might have had one 7-inch, but that was all I had.
it's interesting because that like Separate the Magnets record came out and it blew up in
Yeah.
terms of like if oh this band's got momentum, and then it was like are they going to sign to Revelation or Victory or some records, and it took forever, and I think they eventually signed to well ultimately signed to Victory, and it felt like by the time they signed to Victory and they put out that record and they got the artists who had done all those new metal record covers to do oh no that's the next record, sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
the Victory record came out, and I think it was like I don't know it was that same thing we were kind of talking about earlier. Like if you're going to go for it back then, it was really hard,
Yeah, yeah.
and yeah, there was a lot of people backlashed on it and all this kind of stuff. So
I feel like there was like that era. It was like them, like Boy Sets Fire,
yes,
like they and like somebody else. Like, but yeah, they were kind of like going for it, but I'm not sure what they were going for.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah,
I think Boy Says Fire is a real interesting one. Like they had to talk about that record they had with Jazzman's Needle, which is an
yeah.
insane name for a band.
I know, right?
But they had a song on that about being straight edge that might be the most insane straight edge song.
Really? I don't know
Oh,
it.
life is full of so many simple crutches. They help me think, they help me sleep. And then something, it's just like it's incredible.
What the hell? So is it pro or anti straight edge?
Pro,
Oh, okay.
very pro straight edge, but apparently the band wasn't straight edge, which became like the big controversy that kind of came out. Remember that was the thing, like it came out that Ignite wasn't straight edge.
Yeah, it was
You're like,
such
are
a
you fucking kidding me?
yeah, it was such a big deal
What?
that they weren't straight edge. Yeah.
Bands would sell out. Like I heard the guys from Shutdown sold out of the Hatebreed tour after party by drinking champagne. It's like, God
Especially if you
damn
were
it.
like in a like old school sounding band and you weren't straight edge, it was like, what the hell? What the helly?
Why are we listening to this?
Yeah.
All right. So you have to go number two.
Okay, number two, I'll show off this. This
What
is
is
a
that?
Dump Matsumoto versus Chigusa Nagayo like model set.
Whoa. Have you seen it built anywhere? Does it have a picture of it built?
No, but it has like kind of like just like
Oh, yeah.
diagrams. My wife got it for me for my it's still like sealed or whatever. But I can't tell if it's was like originally sealed like came sealed or like
They
whoever she
sealed it.
yeah. So I
I
kind of
find that with Japanese stuff too. Like a lot of times you buy like Japanese toys or model kits, it's like they seal it to make sure all the pieces stay in it almost.
yeah, so I kind of want to crack it open because I'll grab it real quick.
Once again, this is just a plug. Like you should really be watching this on video because all right,
I have
Woj is
the
back.
yeah, we'll just back. I have the like the single Dump
Oh,
Matsumoto.
so does it look like those cartoons or oh, it does look like kind of cartoony version of them.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's called like that. It's called like Chiba, the
Chiba.
Chibi
Uh,
version. Yeah. But yeah, it's I mean obviously sick as hell, but it looks cool up on my record
damn, that
thing.
is sick. Okay, now I got my third one. Uh, okay. Okay. I gotta think of something funny. Uh oh, I don't think I've showed this before on TV or anything. Okay, one sec.
Hmm. Oasis rule, Smashing Pumpkins, rock.
I got my headphones on, motherfucker. Okay. So when I was at Vice, they started doing a lot of advertorial content, and I was doing all this cannabis coverage, and I was working with like people that were like legit, like like no joke cannabis people, like. And then so cannabis legalization was kind of coming on the horizon, and Vice decided like, oh, let's do more corporate cannabis stuff. So they started doing all this corporate cannabis pieces, and they did something with this terrible head shop opened up here that was like trying to be like, it was their mandate was, they were like, we're going to gentrify weed, and they started making these bongs that didn't work out of clay. And I know for you this means nothing, but
Hmm.
they were just terrible bongs. And they went on this they went on device, they shot a whole piece about these new clay bongs these guys were building. They started talking shit on glass pieces that people smoke weed out of. And they're like, yeah, like everyone smokes weed out of dragon shaped bongs, and we're gonna make that go away. And so the glass community, the weed community, freaked the fuck out, and they're like, fuck Vice, fuck this store, what are they doing? So Vice, like the people at Vice, the guy who was running it back then called me freaking out, like, what do we do? What do we do? They all fucking hate us now. And I was already working on the wrestling show, and I'm like, well, because you guys fucked up. So what you got to do is you got to go film with Redbeard, who at the time was the main glass blower in Canada. He has this glass gathering out in Victoria. Go film with him and kind of show like the other side, the more legit side of this world. And so they go out and film with Redbeard. And while they're filming bongs that he had made, he goes, actually, weirdly enough, here's the first bong I ever made. It's a dragon. And the Vice camera guy is filming a close up and knocks the bong off the table and smashes it to pieces. And so, as a fuck you to Vice, Redbeard made this bong, which shows the Vice cameraman shooting a lightning bolt, exploding a recreation of the first bong he ever made right there. And he put this online, Redbeard, and was like, hey, when Vice was making the piece about me, they smashed the first bong I ever made. And so I made this as kind of a fuck you. And so again, my friend from Vice at the time hit me up like, what do we do? What do we do? And I'm like, just buy it.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes, just buy it.
Yeah.
So they bought it, and it sat at the Vice office until they shut the Vice office down. And then someone, they probably paid thousands of dollars for this,
What the
was about
hell?
to just throw it in a dumpster. And another friend of mine who worked there was like, I'm going to take that and give it to somebody.
Oh my
And
God.
that's how I got it.
You
So
were
this is,
like, you forgot smoking lamp.
yeah, this is my bong.
Expensive piece?
Oh man, I need to clean it. It's impossible to clean though too. But that's my
Crazy.
third piece
All right.
for our show and tell.
My third thing is something new.
Okay.
It is a book of flyers and stuff from the Japanese gabber and hardcore techno scene. Uh,
Oh, weird.
I gotta say, it's like visually like the cool, like one of the coolest things I've ever fucking seen, man. Like just like the flyers
Oh,
in it are just like super animated out. The earlier
but
ones are
it's funny
like,
because when you see the North American obviously take on this, like it never looks this good.
I mean, this stuff kind of is like more in like it looks like what like the like digital hardcore,
Yeah.
like Atari Teenage Riot stuff looks like. Whereas like when you see like the European, like I mean, some of it looks like just straight up like Japcore
Yeah, it looks like
stuff. Like
total raging hardcore flyers.
yeah, exactly. Like this could be like a guy flyer,
Yeah.
But yeah, like whereas like the European stuff looks more like I don't know, it doesn't look like this. You know what I mean? But this shit just like looks so cool. So
Oh yeah.
it's put together by this guy Gabber Eleganza, who's like a he's like a historian of like like gabber and hardcore techno like are like kind of like the oi of electronic music, you know what I mean? And we're kind of like looked down on in a way throughout history because they're just kind of cretinous, you know what I mean? And like
Yeah.
kind of like basic and just like bugged out, but he kind of like recontextualizes it and like I mean like some people, obviously knew all along that that shit was sick and kind of fucked with it, but he kind of like is really good at like recontextualizing it and like presenting it now, like I don't know, just like documenting its history. Like if you his like he's still like the Tumblr. It started as a Tumblr of like an archive of just like hardcore gabber history, and like it's worth like just going through that Tumblr still. Like it's like one of the Tumblrs that still exists for a reason, you know what I mean? It's just like fucking awesome. But yeah, he just came out with this book through his company Never Sleep. So I suggest copying it.
You have to probably order it from Japan.
No, no. I mean, this shipped from the States. So I think it
Oh,
depends on where you live, where you like. I know, like I think joint custody just got a few copies in. I mean, it's like just like visually dope,
yeah, it's sick.
it's really sick. So and I think it was like $40. I mean, yeah. I mean, it looks like it looks like hardcore punk,
Yeah.
it mixed with like Atari Teenage Riot stuff. But yeah. So shout out to Gabber Eleganza and this book, Manga Core is the name of it. Core as in like CORPS.
A couple years ago, we went on tour with Sacred Paws, and we were the bass player was also a Gabber DJ, Lady Neptune.
Mm.
And on the last day of tour, she's like, "Can I just grab you doing drops for me, like for my mixtapes and stuff?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, for sure." So I just did like a bunch of drops, and I'm like, "So what are the shows like that you play?" And she showed me a video of her playing, and like, it's like this kid gets on stage beside her, and he's dancing, and then he just pulls out a lighter and lights his fucking pants on fire. Like it's the craziest shit I've ever seen. Like he's dancing and his fucking pants are all his shit's going up in flames, and he has to take them off on stage. And
What the hell?
I've never seen anything like that. I've seen a lot of crazy shit at hardcore shows, but I've never seen someone light themselves on fire on purpose. I've seen it happen on accident, but never on purpose.
I might have. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I've never seen someone. I've definitely seen it happen on accident. The They Live show, where the guy
I
set
can't
himself on
remember
fire.
what, but I think I have seen someone set themselves on fire on purpose at a hardcore show. But
I don't think Gigi would have ever done it.
yeah. Uh, you don't think
He might have
Gigi's
been
ever
too
been?
wet. He would have been too
Yeah,
moist.
he's too moist. He's not flammable.
He just does not.
Gigi is flame retardant.
I tried to light myself on fire, but I just wouldn't take. The flames wouldn't take.
Gabber, like they do this weird dance called it's called like haka or some shit where they like they put their like legs up like this and it like looks so unnatural, and
Yeah.
it's just kind of like it's so European because it's so fucking white and there's like no like like what we think of as like groovy soul like in dancing like smooth. It's like the opposite of that where it's just like it looks like like a robot like glitching, you know what I mean? It's like so European. It's sick.
Someone's got to just like make like the Toxic Waste Fest to end all Toxic Waste Fest. Like it's just like deathmatch wrestling, gabber techno, just the now would be cool. Like all this shit's
Yeah,
now cool
I
in
know.
mainstream, but like in the
Yeah.
'90s, this or like in the even early 2000s, this was like the worst shit.
Yeah, it was kind of, I mean, kind of like what I talked about in the last episode, like trash culture. Like I would say,
Yeah.
like Gabber is like sort of like trash culture.
So that means like years from now, whatever the future equivalent of John Waters is going to put out a book about gabber techno, like he did about trash culture.
Yeah,
That'd be amazing.
I could see it.
Well, this has been a lot of fun, Woj,
Yeah.
and anytime. You don't want people to find you on the internet, right? Still,
No, I think it's fine. Me, Wojavelli on Instagram and my SoundCloud where I post music I make is Wojavelli with a zero for the O because the rapper Scaramanga got my original SoundCloud shut down.
And you can find me at Left for Damien on Instagram, and Turn It a Punk is on all the other social medias. And if once again, if you're listening to this in the podcast form, there is the video in the archive along with all the other episodes over at youtube.com at Turn It a Punk / Turn It a Punk. It's at the Turn It a Punk channel.
Let's get some comments going. We need more comments. Like,
there are not a lot of nice comments. There's just a lot of people correcting me. Like, oh, I forgot to say, yes, someone pointed out that 5150 is from Las Vegas, and I think I said they were from San Diego, but I was thinking of 5051 who are from San Diego.
I don't mean in the chat. I mean like YouTube comments, Instagram comments.
Oh no, this
like,
is Spotify. There's our episodes. That's where the person told us that because of Trash Tuesday, they're never going to listen again.
Well, fuck that person. I'm a slug for life.
Slugs.
I'm just saying, I look at hard lore and there's like 60 comments like, oh my God, Colin's pectorals are so dope.
Well, you got to start pumping iron, Woj. That's
I know.
What I keep saying.
I got weights. I just got weights recently. So I'm Colin. I mean, look, I'm never going to come for him. He'll
tear us apart.
Yeah. Physically. But, yeah, I guess scary. I have to work on that.
I got like a bench in the back. I'm gonna get, I think our thing should be, we should be like,
this is our thing. Showing off our wares, man.
Yeah, this is our thing. What's crazy? Regular like mainstream tapes are worth like a shit ton of money.
Mm-hmm.
Like this Foo Fighters tape is worth like $500 now.
I believe it. Yeah.
How fucking insane is that? That people are like,
yeah, it's
that
weird,
crazy just for like random mainstream stuff.
I remember I had that on tape. I don't remember it being black. I don't think the US was a black tape.
Oh, it's a different color in the US.
I think it was clear.
Oh man. Yeah, I got a couple like mainstream tapes a couple years ago. Here, Woj, here's one for you.
Yeah, see, dude, you're down. Hey, put that back. It's not the show and tell is over, man. Save it for
show and tell. I'm never gonna brag about having a Smashing Pumpkins tape. I much prefer to brag about having an Acrid demo.
All right.
I think the Acrid demo is definitely not going to win me as many friends as that Smashing Pumpkins would. We get more comments when we talk about Smashing Pumpkins.
Yeah,
than Acrid. All right. Well, if you want to hear us talk about Acrid or the Smashing Pumpkins, because I guarantee we'll be talking about them again. We seem to talk about them every fucking week. We'll be back here in 2 weeks.